What is up, everyone? Welcome to this amazing episode that me and Mr. Darren have just done. I do want to let you know off the bat, we do talk about different controversial topics. These are opinion-based. These are conversations that we talk about a plethora of different challenges and problems within the world. So we just want to give you that heads up. We do swear a little bit within the episode, and as well talk about topics that may be offensive, may not. And I just want to give you that disclaimer right off the bat. So enjoy the show. It was definitely a fun time, and tell me how you guys like it. What is up, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Daniel Francis, and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Daniel Francis. I got a good friend of mine, Mr. Darren Cabral. He's a mini celebrity.
Well, yeah, mini celebrity.
And he's he's a good-looking fellow. Very, very honored and excited to have a conversation, a real conversation about life, business, potentially politics.
Yeah, for sure.
And just entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And just being the best version of yourself. Before I get Mr. Darren to say any words, I want to introduce him. Darren Cabral is the CEO of Suit Social, a top digital advertising agency hyper-focused on lead gen through acquisition branding. He's also the host of Obscurity to Authority. He's had Elliot Hulse on there and a few other big names, where he's interviewed pretty much 36 founders and counting, exploring their path to success while sharing the invaluable strategies, experiences, and lessons along the way. From plumbing, like many Italians, apprentice to CEO, Darren's journey has been anything but straightforward. After selling multiple projects and small businesses before the age of 22, Darren fell in love with the process of marketing and scaling businesses through social media and digital advertising. In late 2016, he doubled down on his strengths and launched his own marketing agency called Suit Social Inc., helping businesses around the world unlock the full potential of social media and digital advertising as a business growth engine. Mr. Darren, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, man. Pleasure to be here.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good, right? I've been practicing all day just for that.
Yeah, that was a long one.
Awesome, yeah, cool. So, as many of you guys know who have watched the episode before, this episode specifically, or this podcast, is meant to just have a real conversation.
Yeah.
As two Canadians, life's kind of been crazy, man.
I want to say regrettably, but I don't.
Yes.
Because being Canadian is not the problem. It's the government is the problem. But we'll get into that. Now you know where this is going.
But one thing that me and Darren are very relatable on is that the life of entrepreneurship. We weren't born in families that are, and I'd say as a society that doesn't really push entrepreneurship and push living on commission, living on the only way you get paid is if you perform and get new clients. And I think what that does is it creates this character of constantly on a production basis, and you look at life from a different lens rather than just showing up to work and going home. So because of that, you become fairly, opinionated. Mm-hmm. You look at life as, if 95% of people are going this way, you're going the other way. Yeah. And I feel like it matures you really quickly. So, but Darren, is there any words that you kind of want to add right off the bat before we kind of get into it?
No, I just love what you just said there, because that's so true. I mean, one of the biggest things is you're right. When you do get into that entrepreneurial mindset, I think the word I would use there is accountability. When you get to a place where there is no backstop, where you are responsible for everything, of course, your lens shifts versus the mentality of someone else takes care of me, someone else makes the rules, someone else tells me how to live or what's right and wrong, and I just consume or I just take from that. That's a different approach, right? Me and you have this thing where it's we're responsible for our outcomes, for our life, for our income, for our families, and so we don't appreciate maybe when other people encroach on that or threaten to take that away or threaten it in some way, because that's the way we've learned to live, and we have that accountability. And I think that's a positive. I think more people need that and should be exposed to sales, to business, entrepreneurship to develop that. Yeah. We're in a place where we need less academics, less white collar. I think we need a little more blue collar. I think we need a little more sales. I think we need a little more entrepreneurship. But
that was a great point you touched on.
I just don't think life sets you up like that. I hate to look at the Illuminati, or not the Illuminati, but the elitists.
We're going there.
Are they don't want you to be successful, but it's almost like we are trained since babies, right? Yeah. And since kids, and through the awkward ages of teenage age and adulthood and university. And from there on, it's this is how you live life. We tell you kind of what to do. You show up, you get this assignment done, you go to school, and you have essentially a boss.
Yeah.
But like the life that we kind of live, I don't really have a boss that's kind of dictating where I go on a day-to-day basis. Like I'm doing this podcast right now. I don't know if this is a good thing or not. I don't know if I, you know, like I'm taking a risk. Yeah. And I think, and that's kind of one of the first questions I want to ask you, because, you know, although your dad is in business right now and he's kicking butt, you weren't born into that.
No.
So, and you know, after being in this world of business, is it something that you're born with, or did you just kind of, you know, were you bullied and then you had to prove the world wrong, Darren?
Probably a little bit. Somewhere down the line.
No, but that's a great point. So yeah, I'll clarify that a little bit, because I know that's a big misconception, because a lot of time when people see someone who's made it on their own, or they're mildly successful, or they have some sort of wealth or gain, people will look at that and automatically assume they got it from somewhere. I'm not sure where our culture has developed that mentality, but I think it's a protectionism mechanism. It's like, someone's done better than me on their own and taken a risk and succeeded. I have not. Therefore, they must be doing something illegal, or it was given to them, or they inherited it, or they stole it. But that's not always the case. So yeah, going back to my story, my dad's in business now. We actually both kind of started our business at the same time. So this was only about, going back maybe 6 years ago.
Your dad was how old?
He was in his, what's he at now? He would have been his late 40s, early 50s.
It's a big deal at his age.
Yeah, he worked at a car dealership. He was a sales manager there for, he went around to a couple of them over the 30-year period, but he was there his whole life, automotive sales manager, 6-figure salary, took care of his family. He worked. My mom worked till she was about 30, and then she'd retire, take care of the kids. My dad was the sole kind of provider. He did his job, he provided. And that was the case until, just like I said, like 5-6 years ago, when he decided to take the plunge into entrepreneurship. I actually went first, and through me kind of starting that path, I actually started pushing him a little bit, because I knew he was always entrepreneurial. He just never really jumped at it. Like, even the way he'd work at his companies and work at the dealership, he wasn't just like moving cars. He'd start bringing in boats and motorcycles and RVs, and the owner would come in and be like, "What are you doing? Why are we selling boats at a Honda delership?" He's like, "Here, they make money. You want to keep selling boats?" Like, that was what he did. He was always very like his own way. And so I pushed him, and I was like, "Listen, I know you love real estate. I know you're passionate about it. You always wanted to do it. You used to be in construction way back in your 20s. Why don't you get back into that?" And I literally would sign us up for conferences and go with him. And he ended up finding a spark and getting into that, building it up, and eventually quitting his job. But this was all while I had already started my company. So he kind of, some people will see now and think, "Oh, your dad's crushing real estate, so that's where your money comes from." It's not. I did this before he did that. We went completely different ways. So I didn't grow up with that kind of money. We didn't grow up with like wealth. We didn't grow up with all kinds of assets and investments. None of that. Normal, hardworking family. Just one parent was working, right? So he took care of everything. And I was never exposed to really entrepreneurship at all growing up. I was very like in school, traditional path. I actually got into plumbing, like you kind of touched on in the intro, in about grade 11. So I went right into trades, very blue collar. I did that for 3 years, and I wasn't bored with this. I definitely, maybe the seed was there, but I didn't have the mentality. And I was in plumbing, and the first day that actually hit me to say, "Hey, I'm going to do this thing for myself," I remember the actual exact moment, if you want me to share that now. Sure. But the exact moment was when I was working plumbing those first 3 years. I wasn't happy, and I'd start kind of like thinking, how the hell am I going to do this my whole life? Right? Can I swear by this? Is this clean, or is this?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, fuck yeah. So I was like, how the fuck am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Right? I was already hurting. I was already tired. I was already cranking like, ridiculous hours, like 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, which was absurd. I wasn't going, and I was like, this is nuts. And I started to think about it. The wheels started turning. I'm like, I got to find something else. And I was always a big car guy. This is all related, I promise. And one day we were parked in our work van with a plumber I worked with in front of an exotic car dealership. And I was just looking at it, and I'm like, I won't be able to ever buy one of those. And for some reason, that really pissed me off, because I was trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, there's no way, with what I make and the way the world's going and real estate, I'm not going to be able to buy a Lamborghini. I'm not going to be able, I know it sounds super superficial, but that was the first click. And I was like, somehow hearing that in my head, you'll never be able to have that, like, bothered me. It bothered me enough to go, why should I be putting myself in a situation where what I can have is capped, where I can work all these hours and all this time, but somehow I can still only get so far, right? And so that was that like little, maybe the seed was there and the kindling was there. Maybe it is in you, but that was definitely the spark that lit that. And from there, it became this pursuit of like, I got to make a change. It was looking for freedom. It was looking for options. It was looking for something that I could challenge myself, and I would never again have to tell myself, I'll never have that. I wanted to be in a position where I could always say, if I do this well enough, if I get this far, I can have anything. Whatever that thing was, I wanted to make sure I put myself in a position to be able to get to that and have that. So that was the first part.
Did your dad support you and your parents like kind of support you when you're like, hey mom, this whole plumbing thing, I know, did you go to plumbing school? Like
100%.
So you, did you pay or they paid or it doesn't matter, but
No.
you went down this path and now you're like, I'm switching it.
Yeah.
How was that? Because your dad's in sales, so
Yes.
so he's very,
Willing
what do I
to work
say?
for money,
Just like
commission oriented.
willing to go whatever it takes to close the deal. Yeah, take risk.
100%. So the transition, we can talk about that, was a little bit all over the place. And I think anyone who's going through that transition will relate. So when I first decided I didn't want to be into plumbing, the problem is I didn't know what I did want to do. So I knew what I didn't want, but I didn't know what I did want. And that's a problem a lot of people have. They go, yeah, I hate this. Sure, I want more, but like what? And so what happened with me was, when I first told my parents I didn't want to do this anymore, the plumbing thing wasn't working, I'll give them that. They were totally supportive. I think my mom was more worried. My mom was just like, are you sure? Like you're making money, you have a great, like it's a career, it's a trade, it's stable. Are you sure? Are you sure? You get benefits, yeah, everything. And so she was more worried, but like, I'm like, no, I hate it. Like I'm hurting, I'm sore, I'm this young, I can't do this in my life. She's like, okay, then you got to find something else. But they made me a condition that this is where I might have done something differently with my own kid. And this is just out of their own, this is the bias, this is what we know. They were like, cool, that's fine. What do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, okay, you're going to go back to school then until you figure out what you want to do. And so they were like, you got to go to college, whatever you want to take, but take something because you're not going to just sit at home. I might have done that differently. I might have exposed them to, okay, how are you gonna make money? I might have but they weren't business people. They didn't know that. Like they weren't able to guide me in that way. All they knew was like school. Like they didn't want me to be a bum at home. So they didn't give me the option of just stay home while you figure it out. They're like, okay, you don't want to do this? Go back to school and figure something out.
Did your dad want you in cars?
No, he never pushed me. I worked in it as a kid. I was a lock guy. I would do stuff at his place. And you know what? When I went back to school, when I made that decision, guess what I signed up for initially? Automotive management. Because that's what my dad did. And I was like, okay, I'll do what he does. The first day I fully enrolled, I paid my first semester. The first day class was supposed to start, there was a huge snowstorm. It was supposed to be in Barrie. It was at Georgian or wherever it is. And I didn't go to the first day. And I decided I didn't want to go in automotive management. I talked to Leah, who's now my wife, and I was like, what the fuck, wait, why don't I work at a dealership? It's not gonna be any different. I'm gonna have the same problem there that I just left. So I withdrew. They actually gave me a refund for the first semester. It was only the first day. I never ended up. I said I was canceling. They gave my money back. And I ended up going to Humber College, and I signed up for business management because I was like, listen, I don't know what the fuck I wanna do, but I know I wanna be in business. Until I figure that out, fine, I'll go learn business, which obviously was useless. But that's what I signed up for. I went to Humber College to do that, and the first week my classes started, I started my first side business. So I was working 2 part-time jobs, both were in sales. So I worked at Moore's selling suits. They called it a wardrobe consultant, 100% commission, no base, no nothing. And I was doing watch sales. So I was doing that while going to school, while I started my first business in kind of media, because I knew right away that the best way to learn was going to be to do it. But yeah, I lived in reality. Like you said, I didn't have parents like giving me money or supporting me. So I still had to work 2 jobs. I still had to go to school, and I still had to work that business. The only thing they did help me with, and that's all transparency, honesty, is the school. They definitely covered the cost those 2 years. And that was more of like, I didn't want to go to school. And their thing was like, listen, don't worry, you won't have to, we'll cover your college. It was 2 years, not a big deal, but we'll cover it. You just have to go. Like, we want you to go. It's for us. So fine, it's for you. They comped it. They were able to do that, and I'm grateful for that. That was the extent of that financial support, was here's your 2 years of college.
So did you graduate?
I graduated. So I actually signed up for a 3-year program. The first year I was like, fuck this. I dropped it to a 2-year program. I finished the second year, and I got out. And the whole time I was working my business. It was like the media company, aerial photography, video. I was never in class. I was skipping every class I had. I would show up for exams. I would work on the side, try to make money, learn this deal, and just do the minimum I needed to do to get through. And I never even showed up for my graduation. I never collected my diploma in person. I think they mailed it to me because I never showed up. I had no interest or care. It wasn't an accomplishment to me. My goal was like, I need to make business work. I want freedom. I want to take that path. And you know what? The whole time my parents were supportive of that. They were never like, oh, you need to just get a job now, you're out of school. They were fine with like, listen, do it. If you run out of money, you're gonna have to figure it out, but do whatever you gotta do. And you know what? I was young. Like, that was the good thing. You're 19, 20, 21. You can, you don't have a spouse, you don't have kids, you can live in your parents' basement, you can hang out around, like, it's no big deal. So I'm glad I did it at that time, because it gave me that time, because I didn't just figure it out right away, right? It took time. So that was a journey.
If I can add to it, I would say the biggest common, the most common thing with most successful people, like even like yourself, you're 27 right now.
Yep.
But you started business in like when you were 22, like you kind of went into that, right?
Yeah,
so,
right away.
but what I found is with a lot of people that go, wow, like Darren's kicking butt or you're doing great. But what a lot of people do is they go into sales. Like how I became a good speaker because I stuttered was learning how to sell.
Yeah.
Like selling suits or watches.
That's
I went door to door, and I find if you're listening and you want to grow, and I don't know where you're at in your journey, but that's probably one of the best things that you could learn. And also when you understand sales, you could, no matter the economy, you could always make it work.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, if I went into a trade where it's based on, hopefully there's no lockdowns, we'll get into that conversation later, but hopefully my job is essential. You're kind of putting your life in a risky way, right?
Yeah.
Right. But when you understand sales, you could become whoever you want. You could do, you could do whatever you want. So the transition into becoming your own business owner 5 years later was because really, if you just went to Humber College, I don't think you would be this person right now.
Oh, I think the sales role had a huge part in that.
Huge. And then that gave you the confidence in yourself that if I can sell this to a person and someone can trust me on making a decision or maybe give me their credit card, what can I do if it wasn't for Moore's or if it wasn't for this watch company? What if it was for my own company? And then 5 years later, and I think that's the number one rule. Like when I train people on communication and they're working a job where they're not even speaking, like, dude, you're setting yourself up for failure. Like go get a job in sales. Go understand that in order to become a better communicator, you got to teach someone on how to get someone to make a decision. And when you understand that path, then I just think life is so much better. Like I'm the happiest I've ever been, mainly because I know how to communicate well, and it all stems from sales, and you as well. Like even like you're not that opinionated, not at all. But if it wasn't for your ability to communicate, I just feel like I don't want to talk so much about communication, but when I look at you, Darren, I think one of the biggest assets that you have is your ability to communicate and share what's on your mind. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. I don't think if you had that, you wouldn't have the charisma because you deal with big accounts. Yeah. Like I mean, just to give a rough idea, what's like your biggest client?
Like a name or a value?
Like a value, just to kind of put things into perspective.
I mean, to give you an idea, like an average client is probably worth 60 to 100,000 a year for us.
For someone to trust 60 to 100,000.
Yeah.
With.
And and that's just our fees, by the way. Don't trust us up to $10 million.
$10 million.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous. Yeah. Right? And to have this skill set at such a young age, I think I don't think if you had that, you wouldn't be in your shoes right now.
No, and I think sales was a huge part of that. And to this day, like, sales, I'll tell you why it's more valuable than that. Even later in your career, if you start there, great, you start a business. The beauty of sales is if you learn to communicate, you learn how to sell, you learn how to sell an idea, you'll never be broke. Because to this day, I always joke with my wife, I'm like, if this business thing doesn't work out, I'm just gonna sell. Because like it doesn't really matter. Like take me to a place that sells construction equipment rentals, I'll sell. Take me to a car dealership, I'll sell. It doesn't really matter, because there's always something in this world to sell. So as long as you can do that, you will never be unemployed. And salespeople are some of the highest earners in the world. And that's the easiest way to have freedom and income. 100%.
Actors, 100%. Athletes, they got to sell the actual team.
Yeah. But what other degree can you get? Like if you're good at sales, what other job is comparable that you could just quit or stop or lose all your money and go down the road, apply somewhere, and in 3 months make 6 figures? Sales is the only thing that will let you do that. No other career will let you do that.
Yeah, 21. I made 6 figures at 21. Right. How is that possible? Or 22-ish. How is that possible? As I was in neuroscience, and then I dropped out. But how is that? That's not possible. No. And again, but fast forward, now you're dealing with these massive accounts. It all stems from that, dude. And now, what else is going to happen in life? Like, if you wanted to, you could run for Prime Minister of Canada.
Yeah, that's all I need. Yeah, Paul, you know what? I bounced the idea around. I looked at my life in stages, and I feel like now I'm at the growth stage. That's going to be building businesses, building that legacy, building that wealth is where I'm at. But I have a pretty clean line in my life where I feel like I'm going to get to a certain age and a certain point where I'm going to pivot and it's going to be political. And there's a third stage of my life that when I want to get out of business and politics, it's going to be giving back. It's going to be teaching. It's going to be philanthropy. And so I feel like I'm moving through 3 stages. So I'm still at the very beginning of the building stage, but that's definitely interesting you said that, because that's in the plan somewhere down the road.
I've always thought about it. I just think it's a lot of pressure. But even talking about that, right? Like even kind of where we are at in the in COVID and the pandemic, I just feel like I've been able to bounce back. You know, like when the pandemic hit, obviously like my whole job, I wasn't able to work, right? So I quit that, but I was able to bounce back. Whereas I think a lot of people, they can't bounce back, dude. And I think it all stems from knowing how to sell. Like if you had to give a number on a sales, like I'm a salesperson, what's the percentage of Canada
that is a salesperson
and business owner in that level of like, I only make money from producing. I don't get a salary, or you get a tiny salary, and majority of what you make is from commission. If you had to give a number, because I think if it was 80% of Canadians, I think it would be different Canada right now.
Oh, it would be.
I think it's like, so whatever, if you have to give me a number.
I mean, see, this is where it's tricky though, because you could count business owners as salespeople, except we have a massive small business community. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not good salespeople, and that's where they run into issues, and that's why they say small. But if you have real good salespeople that are actually producing for their business and they know how to sell, the percentage of that is very small. I'd probably say it's somewhere between 3 and 5%, including all the small business owners that actually know how to sell. It's a very small percentage. Most people are consuming more. They're part of a company, they're taking assets from a company, they're not the ones creating that revenue stream. Even at big companies.
And then I'll go and do it.
Yeah, 100%. Even at big companies, like what's the percentage of people at a huge organization with 10,000 employees? Like think like Facebook. What's the percentage of people that work for Facebook with 30,000 employees, let's say? What's the percentage that sell versus that just operate? Engineers, administrative. It's a small percentage, right? So I think, if that was different, I think we'd be in a different place because we'd have more accountability, right? People would be like, oh no, I'm responsible for my outcome versus the government's responsible for my outcome.
Is, not to get political, but I think that's one of the biggest problems is a lot of people don't want to take accountability. For their situation. And I mean, that's just how I'm bred. Like no one's going to give me anything. Opportunity's not going to be knocking on my door. I'm going to have to go knock on people's doors. Like, dude, I've done the math. I've knocked at least 100,000 doors. It's ridiculous once I think about it.
Check your knuckles.
Holy smokes. And the rejection, like being in 15 to 20,000 homes and seeing all these different people. And it's like, they just met me. They don't know who I am. I could be some lunatic right now, and I have to overcome that. Or people telling me F off the door before, or someone telling me F off, and then I had to knock the next door with a big smile on my face, like everything's good, as I'm crying on the inside. But I mean, that's what helped me overcome my stutter and become who I am today.
Yeah, because ultimately you have to put yourself, whatever your struggle is in life, you have to put yourself in difficult situations to build the required assets and skills you need to get out of that. So whatever you're struggling with, the only way that's going to be overcome is if you face that shit head on. So like for you, if you had that issue with the stutter and communicating, you got to put yourself in the most uncomfortable communication scenarios possible if you're going to push through that. And it's like do or die, especially when your income depends on it. It's like, dude, you're going to sort this or you're going to go
I've never
hungry.
had a salary. I've only been on commission. It's crazy.
Pretty much me too. It's the same thing. I think that's why, so that's why we are the way that we are.
I'm telling you. And that transitions to my next question of, obviously you're not an opinionated person, as I've said this multiple times.
Yeah, we'll figure that out too.
You're obviously, very worried about offending, certain people. So but from your point of view, what do you think is one of the biggest problems with Canada right now?
Whoa, that's big. That's big.
Because I think it ties into, because honestly, I've been thinking, I don't think like majority of Canadians. I am the black sheep. I am Italian raised and Maltese. I got a great mom and dad. I got a great family. Obviously, I've dealt with a stutter, whereas people don't look me in the eyes when I'm talking to them because I'm blocking on every single word. So I've lived that lifestyle to being someone where it's like I've created this world that I'm in right now that is very unlikely for someone to create. So that's who I am. Majority of Canadians, it's always like we blame the government, we blame this, we blame that, So I just, when I look at Canada, I know I'm the black sheep, and I think you are as well. So I'm curious to kind of hear what you have to say, because I'm always thinking like, how do we make this country better? How do we make this world better? How do we improve everything?
I think I answer this very carefully. This is gonna go for a while. Sorry, I like to talk. I'm gonna go down to like the most core principle here, because I'm a big fan of just coming back to core principles before we go deep. So in Canada, I think the most core foundational issue that we're having, to be honest with you, and everyone's gonna disagree with this, we have it too easy. Life is too easy. And I'm gonna explain what I mean by that. Contextualize it. What happens is we gauge difficulty within the perspective and context of our experience. So the frame of which we live is what we judge as hard. So I'll give you an example. For someone who has everything given to them, they have, people running their house, cleaning their house, cutting their lawns. They grew up in a super rich family. They haven't worked yet, never held a job. Everything is great. A difficult day is their best friend starting a fight with them. That's a thing that's just setting them off, and they're throwing their phone and their week is ruined, and that's difficulty. Somebody who's living in a third world type country, right? There's like, my wife is half Filipino, okay? There's areas of the Philippines where people struggle to just get water. There's no shoes, there's no socks. Their difficulty, their definition of hard is, I think someone in my family is about to die this week because we can't get food and we can't get water and we're losing family. Like our struggle is, where do I get water? Where do I get food? So they're not worried about a certain political issue or a social problem, so they frame difficulty different. But in Canada, we've had so much growth and so much prosperity that we've forgotten what problems or difficulty is. So now it's like, well, it's really hard to buy a house. It's really hard to make a lot of money. It's like, if that's your problem, you don't really have problems, right? 100%. You're in such a good place as a Canadian. Like, the very bottom 1% of Canadians still live better than 70% of the world. That's a fact. Like, look every country, India, China, the Philippines, these Asian countries. There's nowhere near, in the majority of those countries, when you have like 2 billion people in India, 1.8 billion are living in almost complete poverty. And to them, poverty doesn't mean like, I can't afford Starbucks, I can't afford iPhone. It means I have no shoes. It means 20 of us live in a house that is barely stable, that water gets through the roof, and we have no clean drinking water. That's what poverty means to them. It means very different things to us. And so I think the biggest problem with Canada is that because we've been so successful for so long, it's created that dynamic. And what that dynamic has led to is this like just complaining handout attitude, which is like, I'm gonna keep finding new problems to complain about and demand that other people fix them. And never will I take accountability because I haven't had to, right? In school, I did what I was told, I got marks, I was great. At my job, I do what my boss says, I'm okay. If I'm unhappy with something at my job, I complain to my boss and they fix it. It keeps extending. I'm unhappy with the way the country is, I can't afford something, I complain, my government should fix it. That person's richer than me, they have more money, they should give it to me because why don't I have it? Why do they have it, right? Because that's the context that they're living in. And so the biggest problem is, it's unfortunate, but yeah, we haven't seen real hardship here in 100 years. The first people that landed in Canada were worried about, like, the first wave of immigrants in Canada just froze. They got here and just died. That was fucking hard. Like, you had to get here, try to live, try to build a house, try to get shelter for your family. Imagine them worrying about any of the million things we complain about now.
With peanuts in their pocket,
right?
with nothing in their pocket.
Nothing.
My nonno came here with like $38
100%.
off a boat.
And that was not even that long ago. We're talking 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah.
My family was the same. A briefcase, no money, and they didn't get here and go, this is so unfair. Why isn't the government giving me wealth? They would take 3 jobs, they would kill their bodies, they would kill their minds, they would raise their kids, and they would just, because they were just grateful that like there was an opportunity.
That's it.
Now it doesn't matter the opportunity. It's I don't have what other people have, and so I'm angry about it, right?
That person's making more money than me.
100%. And it's become an anger thing because we have lost touch with saying, why does that person have more money than me? Why are they living better than me? Why can someone afford this and I can't? What are they doing differently and how can I learn from them? That's been discouraged now because it's taught in the schools. It's taught that there's inherent wealth gaps. There are inherent differences. Like it's all bullshit. It's all a lie. It's not true because take anyone in your situation, whoever there's a person right now watching that thinks they have an excuse of why they're not succeeding, I guarantee you I can find 1,000 people in your exact position or worse that have found the way to get through it and still come out the other side. All of them. There's never an instance where you say you're so shit, your life is so difficult that you just can't get out of it. It doesn't exist. But that's what a lot of people think. And I think that's why now in Canada we have this problem where everyone's looking for a problem. Everyone's looking for a fight. Everyone's looking for someone to be mad at.
Well, I tied in, and that was awesome. But I tied in that first part, which is sales. It's like I literally did an opportunity where I had no salary. I had a stutter, and I figured it out. Like, you know what I mean?
So
like,
you could have made an excuse. You could have said, I can't sell, I stuttered.
I stuttered. There's no way.
That's the generation now we have. That's what they'd say.
And so I laugh when people say, I have problems. Oh, it's culture, it's this, it's that, it's, it's the 1%, it's all these people. And I get it, there's problems on this planet. And, I think we have to realize that we're never gonna get to a perfect situation.
Yes.
And no matter how many movies are done this way in TV shows and blah, 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 like it is what it is. the question is, what are you doing to better yourself?
100%.
You know, and I think this is the conversation where it's hard to, because especially like as I get older, I'm aware of more politics. Yes. Of like, and people just blaming the finger. It's this person's fault. It's this person's fault. You know, and I do understand when you bring into office the wrong person, it could definitely cause a lot of problems. So I do get that. But I don't think a lot of people think like that. And I think this is a hard truth for a lot of people, if you haven't heard this message in a little while, like, are you taking responsibility for your problems? Or are you watching CP24 the whole time?
Yeah, because everything ultimately is in your control no matter what, right? Like there's always something you can do if you're in a particular problem. Yeah. And you're right, depending who comes into office, you know, it will impact what you can do with your life. The issue with politics we're always gonna have is that politics and politicians, like Trudeau, right, our prime minister, their core and primary objective is to retain control and power. They're trying to win a position and hold a position. Yeah. And so by default, their policy will always appeal to the masses. Yeah. It's whatever they think most people want, so they get that vote. But when your whole society starts to shift, like we just said, where most people want a handout, most people want the easy thing, most people don't want to face a challenge, well, guess what his policies will cater to? That. Because like you said, we're the black sheep, we're the minority. Yeah. They don't care. They're happy to take everything you have and make it very difficult for you.
Sorry, what I don't understand is, like, they make their decisions based off what the polls say. So when even Doug Ford says, we should go with this, we should do that, we should extend the lockdown, he's looking at polls because the last thing he wants is majority of Canada saying, we don't agree with this. So you're telling me that 70+%-ish we're cool with lockdowns, and this is what we want, and mandate this and mandate that. To me, maybe because I live in a different reality, or is it our generation? Like, I understand if you're talking to a 55-year-old and they're saying we need lockdowns for long periods of time. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it. I don't like, but do you think that's the case? You think, and who are they polling?
Yeah.
Who are they talking to?
Polling is always flawed. It's an art in and of itself. But I do agree that I think the majority of people did want this. And I'm going to explain for context. It sounds crazy because me and you would never think that way. But go back to everything we just said, right? Like with accountability and all this. So the whole historical little thing I just went on a rant, and the whole culture I just described in Canada, right, leads to what? People that don't want to take accountability. Do you think the majority of Canadians wake up excited to go to work every day?
And I know, and I think that's where my mind doesn't go, because I'm excited every single day.
Exactly.
I love what I do.
Exactly. So there's twofold here. Most people, when you think of lockdowns and restrictions, it doesn't hurt them, it helps them. The majority of family and friends that I have, the majority of friends and family I had loved the lockdown. I'll tell you that right now.
Long periods?
100%, because they didn't have to go to work. It was, for some people, it was the first time they've had more than 2 weeks off in 30 years. You know, for all these kids that couldn't hold a job, it was an excuse of why they didn't have to get one anymore. Well, I can't get a job now, it's in lockdown.
Is this gonna get censored on YouTube?
No, this is gonna be good. So like that was. We'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. But I think people will resonate because it's
monetization anymore.
It's the truth, right? But this is the truth, and that's why I say it is 70%. Because you're thinking of your perspective, which is as this black sheep. To you, it's a loss. The lockdown holds you back, slows you down. It impacts your clients, it impacts your business. Your growth and your ambition is impacted. To most people, it's a way out, the thing that they were looking for. It's an excuse.
And I think that's what blows my mind. Like, and I get it, dude. Like, we don't need to go into depth about COVID and, and the decisions that they made, and even like saying they didn't actually mandate the vaccine, but they basically said you either get the vaccine or you get fired, for essential jobs, right? So,
it's absurd.
I think I have a hard time wrapping my mind around, because it's been a while, bro. What's it been, like 2.5 years? And we're still in lockdowns and all the, like I remember seeing conspiracy videos back in the day, like,
stories.
Well, just like if you don't get the third dose, you're not vaccinated, and we're pretty much very close to like, until you get the booster, you're not going to be vaccinated. Like we're on the edge of that. I don't know, but people said I'm only getting 1 dose, and then if you don't have 2, then you're not really vaccinated. So I don't know what's going to happen. The UK, I'm glad they've kind of let go. From what I understand, I don't know. I feel like you're more educated than me.
They did go back and say they're going to remove all the restrictions and pretty much open up society, which is a good choice. We'll see if that's sometimes things are a little bit of a false flag, and they say they're going to go one way and there's another motive behind it. But we'll see if this is a true kind of direction to freedom. And I think it was very logical what they did, because what they said is like, listen, we've already done the 2 years of lockdown. We've already focused on getting everyone vaccinated. Yeah. If opening up now is still a threat and a danger, when is it not going to be? What else can we do? We're already locked down. We're already vaccinated. We're already doing all. If not today, why would tomorrow be different? If not tomorrow, why next month? So either we do it now or we're never going to do it, because when are like right now, Canada's in lockdown still, right? We're pushing months of this. What are they thinking is going to change in 6 months? We're already all vaccinated. We're already all been masked. We've already been social distanced. We're already locked down.
We're the most vaccinated country in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I think
100%. I think
we're the most vaccinated country in the world.
I think so, unless it's Israel. But it's Israel or Canada, or it's really close.
More than Israel.
Oh, for total, yeah. So there you go.
Total.
And I believe that, because everyone seems to have it.
But that's the thing, is like, so why aren't we opening? What are they waiting for?
Well, it's the Omicron or the
But what are they waiting for? There'll be another
variants.
variant. Like, if it's never okay to open, when do you open?
But that's what I mean. Doug's looking at the polls.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's basing his decisions off the. No, isn't that what he's doing?
100%. They're always going to do what they think the majority wants, and the majority wants this. And if it's not for personal reasons, like I just want to be able to stay home, there's a lot of people that have bought into this vaccine stuff and this lockdown stuff for a different reason, and that reason is purpose. And that touches on my other point. The lack of accountability and drive for your own direction is one thing. The other thing is people lacking purpose. You have a purpose. When you wake up, you know what you're doing, you know what your vision is, you know what you're trying to build, and you're working at. A lot of people don't have any of that. And so this, sometimes it's like a traumatic thing. It's like the whole Stockholm syndrome, when someone gets like kidnapped and taken hostage and they start to love their captor, because it derives some sort of relationship and some sort of like purpose for them. Like they now have some meaning. Trauma has a meaning. And it's like, that can happen in these cases too. Suddenly to fight for vaccines and to get 7 shots and to be the best and to keep your mask on all day even while you sleep, like makes you a better person. And it's something to fight for in their mind that they didn't have. And that's a real thing. I know a lot of people that really don't give a shit. They know it's not impacting their health. But they feel good doing it. That's those people you see wearing 2 masks on the street while they walk outside yelling at someone because their mask under their nose. They're not genuinely scared. That's their purpose now, right? I'm a better person than you. And that's dangerous, because the marketing the government's been doing has been leading to that. When they say like, get the shot, do your part, they're making it valuable. They're making it, if you do this thing, you're suddenly instantly worth more because you're helping the world, you're helping the community. Yeah. Get all your shots and we can open up. Well, now we have all our shots and we're not opening up. But people are still bought into that. So that's another problem with this. It's like, yeah, on one hand, they're getting what they want, which is like stay home and not have to do anything. But on the other hand, it's giving them a reason to live. It sounds fucked up, but it's true. The trauma, the difficulty is giving them a purpose.
Okay.
To cling to, right?
So I'm a very solution-oriented type of person. Yeah. How do we fix this? because I just don't think it can ever be fixed.
Can be, but you won't like it.
Because I think I love how we started at the beginning. Because I don't think I'm that political. Like obviously, like I have to understand as I get older. I have to understand what is going on with the world. Like even with the trucks right now, like you have to as you grow in business, and we were kind of talking about this before. You just have to understand how the world is running. If you want to make more money, if you want to make a bigger impact.
Yeah.
The question goes, and from salespeople, that's such a small percentage of people that work on production. Like if I go to a third world country, I want to say majority of them, they don't sell, they don't bring home any money, they don't bring home any food, right? Yeah. So how do we fix it? I don't think you can.
You can, but it's a painful process.
Because to me, a good society has a mix of everything. It has social programs. Yes. It has ways that you could become the billionaire if you really wanted to. You have the mix of both. But yeah, do you fix the universities? To me, I think it all stems from the education system. Yeah. Like I've always harped on the education system. Yeah. It sets you up to fail at the most part. Like for some 17-year-old, like dude, I remember I was 18 years old and I went to Brock for a year and we're all like, woo, yay, party. And I just dropped $20,000. I couldn't even fathom what $20,000 is.
You do that on autopilot?
Autopilot.
Biggest decision.
And we're celebrating like, let's go, boys, woo!
And you didn't even think about it. You did by default. Here's 20 grand.
Okay, whatever. And then, but and I had my parents to kind of help a little bit. Like I paid for res or whatever. But dude, 4 years of that, sure, maybe tuition's maybe 10 grand a year. But then you add in living out there, blah, blah, blah. That's 40, 50 grand.
And what did you gain?
And then you have professors who are not really business owners or salespeople, or you got to go and produce, and Because if they were, then they wouldn't be teaching that class. So how do we fix everything? Because it's going to take 50 years or longer.
It's going to take me 50 years to explain
Or there has to be a war, and things go crazy.
So yes.
And then we just have to restart society. And not, sorry, take that back. Not restart society, but we have to question that we're going down this path, and that's what caused the war. And we can't repeat that, but history will repeat itself. So there's so much.
I'd love to weigh in on this. I know this is a long format podcast, so I think about that, what you just said, how do we fix this, every day for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It's a question to ask myself. And I'm going to go back to the first thing I told you about when you said, what's the biggest problem with Canada? Yeah. And we said it's the people and the culture. Yeah. Because of how good things have been, it's shifted the way they think. It's shifted accountability. It's done all this, correct? So that's led to where we are. So if the people are the problem, how do you shift the people? How do you shift the culture? So if an easy life resulted in this type of mentality, this wokeism, this finding problems, finding false purpose, if that's what easy life leads to, how do you get back to creating the people like your grandparents, like my grandparents? They need to go through hard times.
I know. That's
the solution.
That's the exact
100%
square.
100%. And we all remember that meme, right? Like the whole thing. But like, we need something to happen, and this is why it's unfortunate. I don't want it to happen, but the reality is that we've been prosperous for too long. We need to go through hard times to create hard people.
But real hard times.
Real hard times.
You know?
Now that can be war-based, foreign or domestic. You know, I hope it's not, because it's a nightmare.
Would you consider what we just went through for the last two and a half years hard times?
No. I think that's going to be nothing even close. I think that's going to be the pretext to what we're about to go through. But it's either that or it's economic downturn severely, like where you can't actually work, where you can't provide for your family, where you're going to have to find ways to get food that you're not used to doing. We're going to have to go through something like that for an extended period of time. And history shows us that when you look at certain cultures, or if you want to call them empires, like right now, we're really part of the American empire, right? Yeah. They operate in cycles, right? Yeah, they operate in cycles of growth, this peak, and then this decline. And the decline stage usually is marked by a point we're at right now, where you have massive divides in society, politically, people on different sides of the fence, massive debt bubbles that can never be paid back, inflation running rampant, that always triggers some sort of what I just said, a conflict or downturn that becomes so painful that it will reset that society. Historically, though, over 600 years, that's taken 10 to 15 years. I think we're in year 1 or 2 of that cycle, and we're about to ride that 10-year
But isn't this where, like, again, you're more educated than me, but isn't this where, like, a lot of people, like, even in universities or colleges, where they at some level they promote communism and Marxism to fix a problem like this?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
They do promote it.
Yeah, as like this is the solution of where we're currently at.
Yeah, but that's not the solution. For sure, that's not the solution.
I know, I'm just saying, but like, what would happen in the worst actual case is real communism. Hey guys, listen, no rich, no poor. Everyone makes the same amount of money. I'm going to be running the show, and you trust me, right? Isn't that like a turn?
100%. It can go one of two ways. So when you hit this point right now of like this kind of like inflection point, it's going to go one of two ways. You have, I'm just going to call this for easy. You have the haves and have-nots. You have people that are really happy with what they're at. They have a lot of stuff, a lot of wealth, a lot of success, and you have people who don't. One side or the other is going to win what's about to happen. So what's going to happen is either the have-nots, I'm not calling that to be derogatory, I'm just trying to separate it. The have-nots will push the policy they think will improve their quality of life. That usually leads to socialism or communism, right? So they'll push policy that promotes wealth distribution and fairness and all these things, thinking it will improve their life. And they'll win, and that will come through. However, that anyway leads to the stuff I just said. Communism has never worked. Not in a full raw form. Some people say, oh, it works in China. China's not it's a socialist democratic country. It's fueled by capitalism, but ruled by socialism. It's different.
So we should just mimic them.
You can, except it's terrible culture to do business in. You know what happened in China? You build a business, it gets really successful. You're like, oh my God, this is great. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm winning. And then 3 days later, it's no longer your business. That's what happens. They just take it.
They have access to your bank account, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that really just?
They'll just kick you off and arrest you.
That's why in Vancouver, again, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm guessing. That's why I used to knock doors in Vancouver, and you'd have a lot of people that are from China own these big homes, and then I would knock on the door, and it'd be like this one girl. Sorry, I only speak Mandarin, right? And multiple homes, because what they would do is they would take the money from China, and obviously.
Do you know why they do that?
So the government can't touch it.
It's that, and they have so much, because socialism by default breeds inflation. because they're producing so much debt. And so the inflation is so high, the currency is so worthless. Like every year the Chinese, I mean, they're getting really strong economically, but the government in China purposefully suppresses their currency. And so you have this level of inflation so they can remain competitive on a global stage. But that basically means if you keep any money in a bank account there, it just plummets in buying power. It just drops like a rock every year. So they make their money in China, then they put it in an economy that's stable so they don't lose that value of that money, right? So they flood the countries like, but that's exactly what we're gonna do here. Because the truth about socialism, everyone thinks it's the solution. Socialism is the government funding all these programs in equality. But where does the money come from? That's always the flaw. Money does not appear. They're gonna have to keep taking from someone who makes that money until there's nothing left to take, at which point it crumbles. The whole system breaks. That's why it breaks every time. So although people might start leaning that way and thinking it's a solution, either way, either they're gonna win and get that solution and then everything will break like the fall of the Soviet Union, or we're gonna be able to have an intelligent conversation before we go to socialism. The other side will have a little more say, and it'll just be more of an initial conflict and back and forth and tough economic time, and we'll come out of that. I'm hoping it's that. I'm hoping we don't go into socialism and live that, because trust me, that's bad for everybody. It's not something you want to be in, but it is one of the two options. We're either going to fall in that, live it, and then we crash, or we just crash now, figure out how to build through it and come back. That's the only two options.
So like I said, so you're not that opinionated.
Yeah.
You know, you don't only talk in politics, and went down this rabbit hole of having a good conversation.
This is my favorite.
I mean, this is, at the end of the day, like, you got to have these conversations.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in a place right now where people don't want to have conversations like this, or you might offend the wrong person, or it will go down a path where you'll get censored, like on YouTube, or then then you're labeled a certain way. And I like having these conversations, and I hope I just don't have a Darren Cabral. I hope I have someone who has complete opposite views. Because I think that's what we need more of, is conversations like this. Because to fix any problem, it's communication.
Yeah.
Do you want to fix a problem? Put the two people in one room, slam the door, lock the key, and then come in a couple hours. Just them two, no one else. Or you have a mediator, right? And I feel like that's, as I grow older, I'm starting to become aware of all this stuff, of what's going to make the world a better place. And it starts off with me, and I think the full circle aspect is constantly bettering yourself, because then I think you see the world on a better place, man.
Yeah.
So, not that we have to keep going down this rabbit hole of politics, but I think it's, but I love it. I love it, dude. You're passionate about this, bro.
I mean, I'm passionate because you have to be, because I think we're at this point where, like, listen, we can go a whole other way with this. And as a society, we can say, listen, why you gotta be so negative? Why we got to go politics? Why we gotta, ignoring it, stopping talking about it, does not change the reality, right? Like when the monarchy of Russia fell and they fell into almost full-blown communism, you not talking about that prior wouldn't have stopped it. Yeah. The millions of people, literally the tens of millions of people that died of starvation, through war, through unrest in that transitional period. Yeah. You not talking about it wouldn't have stopped that. The only way we can improve as a society is to talk. And what you just said is key. I don't think it should just be my ideas. I think we need the other side, but we need to be willing to have that conversation and meet somewhere in the middle, which now the problem is we're not. There's a lot of people that are just like, this is my side. I don't want to have a conversation. You're wrong, I'm right. Yeah. That's really dangerous, because the truth is never on either end. It's always somewhere in the middle, right? Like if you look at the most successful countries in the world, it's the political solutions are somewhere in the middle. It's not all about like everyone fend for yourself, screw everybody.
The most successful countries in the world.
Like what the US even was initially until the last 40 years. Canada was relatively successful. Switzerland, the way they've maintained. Switzerland has a lot of socialist kind of elements, but they also have a lot of capitalistic and wealth. They don't demonize wealth in Switzerland. So they found this balance where it's like the ideal situation, although I would thrive in a country of like everyone for themselves, no support, no government, build whatever you want, go crazy, everyone else, you're just gonna die if you can't make it. I'd probably be flying in that. Although that's probably a terrible solution. But the solution also isn't government gives you everything and tells you everything and hands everything and control. That's also not the way either. So somewhere in the middle, we got to find a way where the people that want to drive and pursue wealth and success, we can push up, because they're the ones that create innovation, new medicine, new technology, improve living standards. We need to support them and let them innovate with the incentive of profit, but while ensuring that the rest of the people can move up with that in that growth without hampering the ability of those people to grow. So there's some way in the middle we have to be able to do both, and it's a culture thing. But right now it's like, 50, 60 years ago, people admired success. Yeah. Even if you were at the bottom, you could look up and say, wow, like that guy has this or that guy's doing that. We've lost that now. That's a big problem.
They've also said it's because the CEOs make so much money now and they're greedy and blah blah blah, or not blah blah blah, but that's what the other side would say.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, the CEO wasn't making 100, 500, 1,000 times more than the guy at the bottom.
They say that. The problem when they say that is they're looking at statistical averages. Just like when they talk about pay gaps and gender gaps and all these things. They take large, broad statistical averages and say, here's all the CEOs in this year and all the CEOs this year, and here's the gap. There were people, go back to like the early 1900s, you know, Henry Ford, the JP Morgans. How much more were they making than their average employee? How much more was Henry Ford? The problem is they're looking at on paper compensation. They're looking at the compensation you can measure. Like what's the salary of the CEO? What's the bonus and incentive package? But the wealth gap was always there. People like JP Morgan, people like Henry Ford, they owned companies that did hundreds of billions, almost trillions equivalent in today's dollars, that they owned and controlled. Never mind what they paid themselves on paper that you can find in your records. Never mind the statistical averages. Yeah. The gap was always there because the truth is, we're trying to look at this arbitrarily, like the CEO makes this much more than we make. Why? Their value is higher. Not because as a person they're so much better than you. It's because, no, 100%.
You've offended me.
Everyone's gonna be offended by that, but this is the truth. The reason why, let's say I make 100 grand a year. Yeah. If I look, oh shit, I took my mic. Let's say I make 100 grand a year, and I look at someone making 100 million a year, okay? Yeah. I can acknowledge the difference is, the value they're bringing to the marketplace is far higher than what I am. They're doing and impacting different things. 100%. Maybe I'm impacting 20 companies and the families and employees that are fed by that company. But the guy making 100 million might be impacting 100,000 companies and lives. And so, of course, his decision, every word he makes, every call he makes, every product they create will have a much greater, like Steve Jobs. Yeah. You make a product that half the world holds in their hand, that you've connected the planet through. Yeah. That person's thoughts, minds, ability to bring people together, create, sell, he is compensated for the impact. If you just go to work, which is, of course, admirable. I want everyone to work, build a career. But of course, if you're just doing your job and you're sitting in an office and you send 22 emails that day and you filled out one sheet of paper, you can't be given $100 million. The output doesn't match. The output has to scale. CEOs are not paid arbitrarily. It's because even if, like, I don't care if the CEO of the biggest bank in the world sits down on a beach all day. Because if he can make one call because he has a network he's nurtured over 50 years and that call results in a deal that makes 10,000 investors, $100 billion, he's going to be compensated for that.
This is the whole hourly and performance
100%
model.
100%, which we should all be in some capacity. Like, I mean,
Canada isn't.
We should strive for that.
That's what I want more of.
Yeah.
But
I believe in it. We have it in our company. I just switched all our compensation structures to that.
Me too.
Even admins, even marketing staff, there's an element of that in there for everybody. Yeah. Maybe not 100% commission because they're not salespeople, but there's an element of the more we make and the more you work, the more you make.
Yeah.
That's a thing I learned in business that you have to do.
Well, that's why I felt so bad during this whole pandemic, because the amount of small business owners that were crushed, dude. And then, Costco is wide open and Walmart and the big businesses that they always, that everyone talks bad about, they're just running, dude. Yeah. Like, who made the most money? Who made the most money during this whole pandemic?
Oh man.
YouTube, or Google, Facebook.
Huge growth this year. Yeah.
Like all the big companies.
The big grocery chains made huge money this year.
And so, and that's a great question too, because as a small business owner, do you think people want small businesses? Or do because to me, and I hate to go down this path of control.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I don't think as a huge society, we don't want a lot of small businesses. Like if you look at communist countries, do they promote small businesses?
No, not at all.
They don't.
I mean, the government and the culture wants big business because from a government perspective, it's control. It's easier to manage a handful of
It's easier to manage. Like 100%. It is what it is. It's not an elitist or your conspiracy.
It's just management.
It's just easier to management. Easier to manage.
To the average person out there listening, do you want 1,000 kids in your house you got to manage and raise, or do you want 3? Yeah. It's easier to run with 3. It's the same thing, the business, that's how the government looks at business, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to enforce and gain compliance from millions of businesses, much harder than it is to have a few dozen. So of course, the problem though is I think a lot of people also would agree with that, like, why do we need small business, right? The unfortunate issue, and I mean, if this was like Joe Rogan, I'd say, Jamie, fact check me, but the reality is...
That's the next thing on.
That's the next thing.
Oh my God.
We need that. We need that.
Yes.
We definitely need that because I could use that right now. But I'm going to give a random number. You guys at home can Google this. But like The Canadian economy, if you look at where the majority of people are employed, something like 80 to 90% of people are employed by a small business. Yeah. Small business is the major employer. If we didn't have them, there'd be no economy. These big companies are not what are providing jobs, right? Because even if there's 10 huge companies, 20 huge companies, and they have 10,000 employees each, that's still nothing. The rest of the country is still employed by small business.
Wow.
You know, so and you can Google that. It's a very high percentage. Just Google how many people the small businesses employ in Canada, and you'll see the number. It's a massive percentage. Did you look it up?
8.4 million.
Yeah. That's a huge chunk. 8.4 million adults employed by small business.
Is this Canada?
Yep. 2019.
So a
It's
third.
huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. So maybe not 70%, I lied. But still, a third. Even if you say 30, 40% just from small business.
Yeah.
Right? And that's small business because they categorize like medium business and enterprise and everything.
Yeah,
but it's a huge part, right? And so we do need it. And I think we need to shift our culture a little more to also promote and support. Because the small businesses are not the greedy companies, right?
Promote this, dude. That's what I'm saying. It stems from the school. What to be in my position?
Yeah,
I don't
that's a big
think
problem.
Entrepreneurship in school.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm going to learn it.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I would have been able to. I think the only thing is you got to go into sales. Like you got to go into a performance type environment where whether you show up or not, it doesn't matter how many hours you work. If you don't close a deal, get someone to make a decision, you're going home with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I
agree. My sister, bro, she's in door to door now.
Yeah.
Like she's learning this whole game. She's in this whole game of like knowing how to knock. Yeah. And she'd rather do this. Yeah. And I think she's made more money in the last week and a half than she had at her last job within a month.
Yeah, she's in control now.
Because she's in control and then she's hyped up every single day and she's actually happier. Yeah. Like she's actually more fulfilled. Yeah. Like she's excited. I see her in the mornings before she was dreading going to work. Yeah. Now I see her in the mornings and she's like, woo, can't wait. 100%. You know, and I think that's, whatever. It just goes back to what we were talking about before. Like, people need that drive, man.
They do, and that's why, you're right. Like, school's the problem. The only issue is, how do we shift what schools teach? How do we shift? You have people teaching at schools that were in school their whole life, got out, took further degrees, went back to school and teach the same message, and it's like,
they're a full-time student.
How do we break that? And that's what it goes back to, we do have to go through hard times. That's inevitable. It's not me, it's history.
But it's not going to change the school.
It will, because when things are hard enough, no one's paying professors $140,000 to sit there and talk about how we can create more professors and put them more, that whole society, that whole education system exists in a prosperous society.
Well,
right?
University was meant for, I don't want to say the rich people of society, but the people that had money and they went to an elite school and we're going to learn about societies and cultures. And now we're kind of in a world where if you don't go to university, you're going to be cleaning toilets for the rest of your life, right? That is the thought process.
Yeah.
You know,
which is not the case.
People look down upon me that I didn't go all the way into it. But then I also know buddies who got the master's or the PhD and
they're making
working,
$40,000 a year,
and they hate it, and then they just go back to school.
Yeah,
what do you do for work? Oh, I'm just getting my master's. I don't know. What do you do for work? Oh, I'm just getting my master's and my PhD.
That's my favorite thing, by the way. When they go to school, try to get a job in that industry. Oh, I can't find a job, so the plan is going to be go back to school.
Well, the problem is I get it. It's hard to get a PhD or a master's, but then they come out thinking that the world's going to give them a handout, and then the small businesses are like, buddy, we're not going to pay you that much money. What experience do you have? You know, with your pompous attitude, we don't care how smart you are. And it's again, I hate to throw. Did I hit something back there? I hit something hard. Yeah, we're disagreeing, and I get it, and I know that line right there will offend some people, or, if I have family members, when I dropped out of school, it was like, we're scared of you. You're going to be ending up on East Hastings in Vancouver, you know, and now it's the complete opposite, and I've opened up a lot of people's eyes of what's possible. I think that's actually why my sister's going down this path right now. But the problem is a lot of people aren't willing. I went through years and years of my son, what is wrong with you? Are you okay? Yeah. To now it's they're popping the champagne and we love you. Oh my God, we always knew this, Daniel. Oh my God, we're so proud. Oh my God, wow. You blown me away. Just see, I taught him that. Oh my goodness, right? So, my mom kills me. That comes from me. Oh yeah, for sure. Because when I was 21 and I couldn't pay car insurance, you were talking the same way. I remember I had this big fight with my dad, and I'm like, guys, I'm not going back to school. Like, and I joined Verve. Have I told you about my Verve? Yeah, okay, got you. Yeah, we don't. I talked about that with Andrew last time.
Yeah.
I tried to get this guy in, and yeah, like that was a very hard point. And I'm like, see, I'm going to become this entrepreneur. I see this guy, you know, with the Benz, and I see he's a good public speaker. He's charismatic. All the girls wanted him. He's making some money, like whatever it was, like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a week. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy at 21. Oh my goodness. And you know, you didn't go to school. And then it went like this. I got the BMW.
Yeah.
And then
Now you're successful.
and then and now I'm successful. And then I hit a point 5 months later where I couldn't pay the BMW anymore, and I hit rock bottom. And I think a lot of people can't handle that. You hit the ground so hard, and then you have to bounce back up. And I mean, like for me, I had to go to BC to figure myself out. Like I couldn't. Now that I'm back in Ontario, I've become this new version of me, so I can like be myself and not think I'm crazy. But there was many times I'm like, dude, am I good right now?
Yeah.
All of society is going this way, and I'm going the complete other way.
Yeah. We need more of that though. We need more people like you making that transition
but
too.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And is it innate? You know, like I feel like to be vulnerable, I feel like because of my stutter, it's almost like I had to prove myself to the world and my family. Yeah. I've kind of like made this decision like, guys, like this isn't like I'm throwing in the towel, like mom, dad, you were right. I can't make this happen. Friends, family, cousins, everyone, you guys were right. I made a mistake. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people have that. So I think it goes back, because we live in a country right now where you can become whoever you want.
Yeah, definitely. For now.
Right? For now. Like if we lived in a dictatorship, I don't think we'd be able to,
of course not,
to do this, right? So, and then another point I want to add on to what you were saying is the reason why I love the US, like obviously there's goods and bads, the reason why I love a free market is, bro, look at all the inventions that we have right now in our life. Like, did that come from Russia? No. Did that come from China? Did that come from Venezuela? Did that come from North Korea? No, dude. Majority of what we have is because you had one dude that says, you're telling me if I figure out this electric car, I can become a multi-billionaire, and obviously I can make an impact on the world, or an iPhone, or everything. I don't even know how, the fact that this phone even works and is connected to something that gives me information I can take, I have no idea how this works. Yeah. You know, you take that away from someone of like, when you make it, you know, that's why there's always a part of me of like, if I were to become successful, whatever that means, that I know there's gonna be a mob after me saying, get him, you know, go get his money. Like it's in the back of my head.
Yeah, in this culture, 100%, man.
Which is sad.
It is, because we just lost touch with those principles, right? Like we all know, like when we talk about from a business perspective, there's people listening to this going, well, yeah, like why should you gain all this profit from, why don't you just create it? Why don't you just innovate and help people? Why does it gotta be profit driven? But it's like, listen, I go back to examples people can relate to. Like if you have kids, right? And you have 2 kids and you want them both to do chores. And you incentivize one and say, hey, if you go clean your room in the next hour and I come up and it's nice and clean, I'm gonna give you the biggest ice cream, all the candy you want for the rest of the day, and you're getting $20. That kid's gonna clean his room so quick and be like, come back, I want that ice cream, I want that money. And you tell your other kid, you gotta clean your room too, but like, I just want you to be satisfied with it. You know, come back and be happy you got it done. What's the response gonna be, right? And it's like, of course, so even if we can see that in children and anyone with kids can identify with that, why don't we see that with the rest of us? Why do you think that as you grow up, that should be different? Suddenly you should just be happy enough to do it with no incentive?
We are kids
100%.
Still.
We need
love
incentives.
Movies.
Right.
We love story time.
100%. Why don't we tell all your employees, you know, come to work, I won't pay you, but like, you know, be satisfied in it. Just come to the work and let's build something. No, you want the incentive. You want to know that there's a reason to do it, right? And we don't want to admit that for some reason. Like it's wrong. It's wrong to incentivize, but it's not.
Well, why do you think people look up to athletes and musicians? You want to be like them. Yeah. And all the perks.
Yeah, 100%. You know, we need to.
It's again, this is the conversation that people don't want to talk about.
No, because we
rather talk.
Wrong. Yeah. That's what they think, right? It's dirty. Why do you want money? You're evil. Go help people.
I think we're genetically wired like that.
Yeah.
Like especially as men, at least, or I can't speak for women. We like winning.
Yeah.
We at some level we want power. We want money. We want fame. We want that at some level, because that also shows that we are high valued people, and that you need that aspect. So if you take that away and I'm Mr. Humble, like blah blah blah, I just think it's fake. It's not real.
100%.
That's how we're wired.
100%. And I think we framed it wrong too is the problem, because a lot of people now, they assume that that's the primary driver only, like, oh, it's just for profit, it's just for profit. But in an ideal capitalistic society, it's profit, but in pursuit of innovation, growth, and betterment. So it's like, yeah, don't just create like a drug and sell a ton of it and make a lot of money and that drug kills people. That's not the point. The point is create things that actually do better society. And if you do, be rewarded for that. Like if I'm in business, I want to be in a business of helping people in some capacity. But I think we've lost touch with what that really means. Like what you do helps people massively. It changes their life. You know, what I do in the marketing world, it helps people, because if we help a business make more money and succeed, guess what? They hire more people. Those people, their families are fed by that growth and that improvement. That's impact. And so like, it's not just about profit. It's like, yes, I'm profiting, but also you're helping. And I think we've missed that part. When people think of capitalism, all they see is profit. It's just about profit. It's not. It's the impact you're having. Like, dude, if there was no capitalism, we would still right now be somewhere on a farm, harvesting some sort of product to trade with our neighbors later for the other stuff we needed, working 20 hours a day. There would be no hope, no future, no progress. Capitalism is what pulled us out of that. And although, yes, some people got left behind in that process, and although it's not perfect, nothing is. There's evil in everything. But that doesn't mean that if something has a bit of evil, the whole thing needs to be scrapped. We just need to focus on the positive, on the big picture. And we're not doing that. We're not being educated to do that. We're not being taught to do that. Our parents aren't telling us that. And so that's the difficulty. You got to kind of figure out on your own.
Because we look at the whole society, and majority of people don't think like that. So how do you duplicate that, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And get the Lamborghini. Like, how are you supposed to pay for that Lamborghini?
Exactly. Which is funny. You know what? You know, on that note, like you talk about luxuries, right? As I've matured in business and life, I'm nowhere near mature, but as I've matured more.
As I have now matured.
You know, in the beginning, that's what drove me, the cars. You know, I wanted the cars and the flashy stuff.
Well, you have the C43, right?
I got rid of that a while ago.
Dude, I know, me too.
I bought a truck that was more expensive than the C43.
Me too.
But not the point. But listen, no, I had the Mercedes, 100%. I had the Mercedes like you had, and I did all that because that's what was driving me. That's what I thought I wanted. But I'm gonna tell you something really interesting. As I've gone to certain levels and I've matured, something else appeals to me a lot more now. One, it is the impact, the work, the struggle of it that I love, and I do it for that in a lot of reasons. Financially, it's the freedom. In a lot of ways. Like I'm into a lot of things. I'm into guns, I'm big into shooting, I'm big into like hunting, I'm big into just being up north. I want to be able to have a piece of land and escape there and spend time where no one can bother me, no one can, that element of freedom is so much more motivating. Like to have my truck and be able to just disappear and go up north with a bunch of guns and just shoot and enjoy and have that freedom. That's what I'm working for. That's what it is. And so it's like, but the cars, you know, it got me there. And I think that might be part of what could help more people get there is like, what's the thing you want in your life? Like if you're sitting at home right now and you're not sure, you're kind of on the fence of all this, what's something in your life that you know you'd really want? It doesn't matter how dumb it is. If it's a piece of art, if it's a car, if it's a hobby, if it's the travel, what's that thing that you want, but you know you can't have if you continue the path you're on? And I think if more people can become self-aware of that, like, oh, there are things I really like that I've just suppressed and don't think about because it's painful. What if we bring those up and think about them and then say, okay, well, how can I get them? What can I change? And listen, you might get there and not want that thing anymore, but at least it led you to that progress. And that's what I'm getting at. Like I started wanting one thing, it led me down a journey, and now I want another thing, and that's okay. But at least I found that way to motivate myself and pull myself forward. A lot of people don't have that because they have these dreams and they suppress them. Because, well, I'm never going to get it, so I might as well just not think about it. You know, that's a problem.
This is the underlying tone to basically everything we talk about, which is how do we make our lives better? How do we improve? How do we as human beings, as whatever you want to call us, as whatever, how do we improve us on a day-to-day basis? So you learning about politics, you growing in business, you doing all this work on yourself, the underlying tone towards working hard every single day is just living a better life day after day, week over week, month over month. And I love that because we could talk about Trudeau and COVID and everything else, but deep down, it's how do we just make our lives better? And to me, that's when I look at my life, to me, what a good life is a life of feeling good and enjoying like the aspect of it. You know, when I was working 12, 14-hour days in door to door, there was a point I'm like, initially it was great because I needed to go through that. But then you hit a point I'm like, I'm not happy anymore. And that's kind of my next question to you. Like, life's crazy right now. There's a lot going on, right? We talk about, we can nitpick everything. Is Darren Cabral happy?
I'm happy personally. Okay, I'm happy with my personal life, my relationship. I have a great wife. You know, we're super happy within the walls of our home.
Yeah.
When I think about the country, the future, it's not that I'm unhappy, I'm worried.
Yeah.
And that worry has definitely penetrated how I feel. So I feel great. I feel great about my business, about my life, about my family. I worry about the country in the future. And I think a lot of people have been going through that. It permeates no matter where you're at. That uncertainty permeates. You know, I'm happy, and I'm happier this month than I was 2 months ago. And, you know, part of that was, I'll touch on something real quick, but like, you know, I lost track of other things. In the pursuit of business and success there, I lost track of health. And that led me to be really unhappy. I started gaining a shit ton of weight. I hit my peak.
Stress eating.
Yeah. You know, and I didn't worry about it. I was like, well, I don't need to worry about that. I'm building a business. I don't have time to worry about that. Yeah, I'm on Zoom all day. So like, I'm building a business, and I got really fat, and I got really, you know, tired and just no energy, and I was getting depressed. Yeah. And it wasn't for any one reason. I just felt terrible. And I realized, like, because when I look in the mirror, I wasn't the person that I wanted to be. That's not business related. And, you know, I was so focused to just like business, money, money, money. And so I started to fix that a few months ago. And I started with, I know we talked about Andy Frisella, but the 75 Hard Challenge led to a lot of that getting fixed. And it's funny because the underlying tone of 75 Hard, which is basically like a mental challenge that relies on health and fitness elements as well, is do really hard stuff that's unreasonable, right? So a lot of people say, okay, you gotta work out twice a day. One of them's gotta be outside. It's 7 days a week. There's no cheat days. There's no days off. People go, that's not healthy.
And no alcohol.
No alcohol. So people go, that's not healthy. Like, why would you do that? It's not to be healthy. It's because when it's minus 25 and I'm really sore because I've done 24 days without a day off, I still got to go outside and freeze and hurt, because that's the point. I have to learn to run towards difficult things. And I think 100%. And that ties back to what we were just talking about, which is like, for the individual, I think the key here for everybody at home, start running towards the harder stuff. Because the only time I felt really unhappy in my life was like with my health. And I realized it's because I was running from the hard stuff. I wanted comfort in my personal life, in my eating. I wanted to eat whatever I wanted and not exercise and not hurt. Yeah. You know, I figured out the business side of how to go towards challenges, but not the personal. Some people have figured out the personal, but not the business side.
Yeah, but if I can add to that, I think I actually believe a lot of people are hard workers for the most part. Maybe that's my family, but if I look at people as a whole, I think a lot of people are hard workers. But I think they do the hard things in the wrong places. Yeah. Like, you know, it's like a hard thing to do is knock on a door and get rejected, right? It's also hard to get ready for an exam and, you know, get your PhD. That's also hard. Yeah. And I think people are spending the wrong time on doing, like they're spending time on the wrong hard things.
100%. 100%. You have to look at that. Yeah. And they need to chase discomfort in the right areas, which is like, what's the thing that really goes, I think the way you determine that, like what is the right challenge, is like, what does go against the norm? You know, what aren't most people doing that you're uncomfortable about?
Yeah, but then you're the conspiracy theorist, dude. Right. Then you're the crazy guy. Then you're the guy who's in his own world. Yeah. I guarantee I've been called that many times. Oh, look at Daniel living in his own world.
Oh yeah. And I got that all the time too.
Oh yeah, dude.
I used to be made fun of as the guy on the laptop. He's always on his laptop. Oh, his laptop. Yeah. It's laughing stock now. So got a lot different.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, people need to follow something, right?
They do.
Yeah. But
they need to pursue hard. Honestly, they need to pursue hard shit. I do think people aren't doing enough hard shit.
If I can give one piece of advice, get a job in fucking sales to everyone. If you are lost in life, go do a job where you're part of a team culture. Well, I don't know if this whole idea of I can't get a job, that's BS, dude. That's such BS. My God. That's the most BS thing I've ever heard. No, you want to get a job where it's cozy, it's easy, and you want to make great money. That's your problem. Dude, I know, I can call 3 people right now that can give you a job full commission. You can make 8 to 10 grand a month. Yeah. You're gonna be knocking doors in the cold, you're making cold calls, you got a job. Whoa, Daniel, but that isn't stable. No, you're not stable.
Exactly.
You want to choose a hard challenge, go get rejected. Yeah. And I think a lot of people's egos, they're kind of scared, because when I was knocking doors, I didn't want to knock on someone's door who I knew, and then it's kind of embarrassing or whatever the case is, right? Or but I think people are choosing the wrong hard.
They're striving towards comfort 100%. Like even at my company, we've been hiring, right? So we go through a bunch of interviews last like month or so. And I'm shocked at some of the interviews I have with people, like the questions they ask. Instead of asking like, how can I bring value? You know, what is my earning potential if I bring you this kind of value? Where are the opportunities for me to progress and grow? I get questions like, they won't even ask about the job or the work. I'll have people call in, we have interviews. Yeah, it's like, so how's work-life balance? Like, do I have to respond to things after 4 o'clock? how much vacation do we get? Like how much time off? Do you guys have mental health days? Is there mental health days on top of those sick days? I swear to God, those are nothing about the role, nothing about the work, nothing about how they can add value.
And by the way, I'm laughing because I've been through a depression. Like I understand what it's like when I'm calling my mom, bawling my eyes out 3 a.m. saying I don't want to live anymore. Yeah. Just to the people like, oh, look at Dan laughing at mental health days. I get it.
No, it's not to laugh at it. It's the wrong question.
It's the wrong question. Yeah. I just want to make that very clear. I'm not laughing at this. I've been that guy, and I understand what that's like. But I think it just goes back to having luxurious first world problems. Yeah. Like my nonno coming to this country, and my nonno with $38 in his pocket, didn't speak a word of English. He couldn't have a mental health day.
No.
And I get it. Well, people didn't talk about it back in the day, and that's why they were drinking a lot and blah, blah, blah. I get that. But it just, like you just have to call it is what it is. We're spoiled.
That's what
and the system is flawed. Yeah. I get it. Well, I'm graduating with all this debt, and I can't even buy a home. I get that. Yeah. But it goes back to what you said, which is, has there been someone in your shoes with the same situation that figured it out?
100%.
If the answer is yes, then that's a you problem. That's a you problem. And I hope at some level, if you're still watching this and we haven't offended you, that you're inspired by this. Yeah. Like you're actually inspired of like, he's not a dropout, so he's much smarter than me.
Yeah. 2 years of college, baby. 2 years of college.
Just killed it, right? But my path right now, just personally for me, I don't really have much else. Like on paper, it's like I've proved myself over years, but it's like I wasn't given a lot. Like if anything, I got the opposite of like people talking bad about my journey that I'm on right now. And so just kind of go. I want to go back into that because I want to talk about hiring and maybe kind of pick your brain and stuff. But I think this is one of the biggest problems with society right now. So when there's lockdowns, people are celebrating because we get to stay home longer. Exactly. And Trudeau's giving us $2,000 a month, right?
Yes, 100%, 100%. I mean, it's bribery is what that was. But going back to that whole point, like, I didn't bring up mental health as like it's bad to ask for mental health days. No. My point was like, it's your focus. You're trying to interview to get into a company that you can prove value and grow. And your first thought already in advance is what time you get off. Mental health is fine, and I believe companies should have them. When you get there and you're having difficulty, you can talk to somebody at your company and you can get that time off you need. That should be available. Your question leading into coming to work for a company should not start on what you get and how much, like how easy can it be for you and how much perks do you get. That's the problem. We have this focus.
It's the same idea with like, I got a PhD, so you should pay me $100,000 off the bat because I got a PhD.
Yeah, it's an entitlement and it's a wrong focus. Everyone now is what's in it for me, or I've done this, so I want that, or I want this because I want to be comfortable. No one's thinking about when they say there's no job. Like, it's not there's no jobs because every business owner I talk about, their biggest pain point. If you take 20 business owners, put them in a room, I say, what's the hardest thing you're facing right now in your business? What's the biggest challenge? They'll say hiring. So how can they not be able to find people to hire and you can't find a place to work at the same time? Both can't be possible unless someone's lying. And it's not the business owners because they want to hire, they want to grow.
They need to hire.
Exactly. It's the people saying there's no jobs. No, there's no jobs that meet all your 23 criteria of what's in it for you. There's lots of jobs if you come with the aspect of like, I could go to any company in the world. I could lose my whole business tomorrow, go to any company in the world and say, find my dream job and go pay me nothing. Give me 90 days. I'm going to help you achieve the biggest thing on that, whatever you guys need, that biggest goal. I'll drive 90 days and I'll get you there. I do that. Here's what I want. They'll be like, sure, go ahead. And if you fail, then what? Nothing. I'll walk, right? They'll be like, awesome, come in, show us what you can do. But who's going to do that? Who's going to do that, right? Oh, that's not fair. But like, do I get an advance on my pay the first day? Like, can I take my vacation on the second month, or do I got to wait for my probation to be over? That's what they're thinking, right? So it's not there's no jobs. There's no jobs that you want, right? There's no jobs that are comfortable enough for you. Yeah. That's the problem.
So where does that stem from? Parents?
I don't know.
I think the parents sell. It also comes from the parents too. I think they've been sold the wrong dream.
Yeah.
Because then it literally trickles down from the parents to the kids.
For sure.
Because the parents are, don't worry, we'll pay for your school if they can, or you need to go to school because or else you're going to be on East Hastings, God forbid. Not God forbid, but like that's a reality. And then it comes from the fact of we don't live in, like when my dad went to Ryerson, he graduated in urban planning and there was a board of jobs and he just picked which one he wanted. It just, And you know, and I've had so many conversations with my dad. Like, that's not how it works anymore.
Exactly.
There's, I've had friends, they've graduated the same degree and they're calling my dad. And my dad's like, there's no jobs. Like, what do you want me to do? Because I ain't retiring anytime soon. And everyone else is thinking the same way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, you've got the degree, awesome. Now you can post a picture on Instagram and mom can put the degree on the wall, and whenever people walk in, oh, look at her, right? Oh my God, wow, congratulations. I get that, and that's awesome. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Good job on completing it. Most people can't complete it, so great job there. But I think it stems from the parents selling the wrong vision of they don't want their kids to go through hard times like rejection. And doing what is the basics of, to make money, you need to bring value to the marketplace and you got to deliver on that. It's not, well, I'm a company, let me just throw money at you because you are a nice person. Like, you got to earn it, dude. Like, and anyway, I just feel like that is the problem. So the kids are being sold the wrong thing. Or go get a job with benefits, even though you make $35,000 a year, hopefully 10 years down the road you make $70,000 a year, and then, you know, 40 years later you got a retirement package and blah, blah, blah. And I just don't think that's a reality anymore.
No, because I think the big problem there is it's not bad intention or anything. It's just there's a disconnect, because all the things we just said were true in the time that those parents went through it. Like you said, in their time, that was true. You could go to school and get a good job out of school. And so they're just trying to apply that same strategy to their kids now, but things have progressed so much. The economy has changed, technology has changed, and they're trying to apply this old thinking. In their mind, it's like, yeah, just get the job, get the school, get the degree, and you'll have a job. Not realizing that's not what's happening anymore. That's not what's working. Like, we're a value-driven economy now, especially because of technology and outsourcing and globalization. Like,
A robot can do your job.
100%. Or I can outsource everything to India, where they're going to be really super hungry to work and they're going to want a quarter of the amount. That's just capitalism, right? That's the environment we're living in. And so it's not about just get a degree anymore, because when our parents got a degree, they were not in the minority, but they were in the small percentage that did. Maybe half of people did, half people didn't, right? Earlier than that, go back to the 50s, maybe only 10% of people had a degree, right? It was prestigious, but now everyone's getting a degree by default, so you're no longer special. But our parents don't really realize that. To them, it's still the valuable thing they went through. Yeah. It's not anymore, because when everyone has something, it's no longer special. So what is special? It's the person that's willing to work, to add value, to hustle, to go above and beyond, if they have to. 100%.
Has anyone ever come to you and said, I'll work for free?
Yeah, and I don't even always accept it, because sometimes people come to me, but they're not explaining their value. I'll work for free. What will you do? Anything. I don't need anything. I need something. Sell me something. What
I need
can
a
you
skill.
add?
I don't want to be training you on every little detail.
I don't want a friend I have to talk to every week. What can you do? What can you bring? You know, and I'll accept it here and there, and oftentimes I'll just pay them anyway.
Gone that too. I know I've gone that too.
Yeah, so it happens, and you know what? They don't realize. And listen, I've gone to a ton of people continually, as you have, like with coaches and business people, where I've paid a lot of money to talk to people, just for the people that aren't even coaches. They're just like people I know in business that are crushing, and I'm like, I need help in this particular area, but I understand you have no reason to talk to me. I'll pay you $4,000 to hop on a phone call. Sure. I'll give you 30 minutes, because I have no other value to offer them at that moment. But if you do this with me, I'll pay you for it. Like, how many people are willing to even do that? Like, pay someone to help them understand something or go through something. No. If I'm doing work or I'm doing something, they should pay me. You know, it's not always the case.
Doesn't work.
People have to be willing to like get that information at any cost, because the degree's not enough. So whether they got to work for free, or they got to intern, or they even got to pay people for that information. You know, if I was looking for a job right now and I knew someone that was a killer, they're building something great, if the only way I could get in with that company was pay to work there, I would. You pay and get loans to go to school to get an education. Why wouldn't you pay to get a real education in a company working? Like, why do we pay for colleges to teach us textbooks, but there's never been a conversation around, how about you pay a company to take you in and build you for 90 days?
Because
work in their field.
That's not the society, dude.
You know, exactly.
That's not society.
The schools are too busy making $100 billion a year in tuition.
If you don't think universities are a business, you're just ignorant.
Who's the biggest landowner? Someone should Google this up. Who's the biggest landowner in the West End in Etobicoke? Probably not the number one, but if you Google, you're going to see on that list is Humber College. Humber College owns so much land in that small circle of Etobicoke around their South Campus and around the Rexdale area. Every year, they buy more land they can't even build on, because they have so much money and they're supposed to run at certain margin and not make massive profits. So they keep saying they're reinvesting in land for future development that they never develop. They just are dumping money because they don't know what to do with it. And what are they giving back for that? In my opinion, talk about greedy capitalism. That's greedy capitalism. Taking $40,000 from students, $60,000, $100,000, giving them nothing, knowing you're giving them nothing.
Well, isn't it they're paying?
Profiting.
Isn't it like they're paying the exact same rates this year, even though they're not like in on campus?
Oh yeah, you think that would cut the cost? Nope. Yeah, you pay the same or more, and you get to stay home now.
Okay, so without being so negative, I mean not negative, but without looking at so pessimistic, your face is killing me.
I'm loving the conversation.
Yeah. It's different than what, like, see, I live in this world.
Yeah.
This is my world that I live in. All my conversations, all my friends, this is how we talk. For a majority of society, this is these are the fringe conversations, like the fringe society that is happening right now. But oh my God, I just had a question and I forgot it. Yes, to look at this thing. Okay, so now you got people listening in. You got a 22-year-old. He's in year 2 or she's in year 2. What's your advice for them? Should they graduate? Should they drop out? Where should they go and work? It's difficult. Or some people have the vaccine, some people don't have the vaccine. Don't even read that in. But But let's just say, what advice would you have for that 22-year-old? Because at the end of the day, I think at some level, and sorry, I just want to add this. Me and you are at the end of the day living that dream. Which is, we love what we do every day and we can make as much money as we want every single day. That is the dream for a lot of people. Yeah. And what does that equal? Equals fucking freedom.
Yeah. What's what we do it for?
Like, that's essentially what you want. And I thought I wanted a cool car. I don't want a cool car anymore. No. Like, what I want is I could live at some level wherever I want, be on my own schedule. Dude, I'm working harder than I've ever worked in a very long time. Yeah. I'm loving every second of it but it's on my time. Yeah. And when I want to take time off, I don't have to confirm with anyone. So I love that aspect of my life. And I can also make as much money as I want, which is what I love. That also comes with risk. Like, now I got payroll and I got people that I got to pay. And then the final part is I'm doing something that is like on a deep emotional level. Like, I feel like I was born to do this, overcome my stutter, and then help others do it. And then also like help people make more money and grow and excel in their relationships. So going back to that, Mr. Darren, which is, what is your 2 cents for that group of people that are watching this and like they're inspired, but they're in their mom's house or dad's house, and like, where do I go now? So
I'm gonna give kind of some advice that I'm actually gonna steal. So Pejman Gadimi, if you guys want to look him up on Instagram, I think his thing's called at I Create Millionaires. Super successful Florida businessman who's coached me, mentored me. And he has probably said this the best, because a lot of people will give a particular set of advice here. Oh, you should do this, you should do that. The reality is you might not know exactly what to do yet. You might not know exactly what the next step is. Maybe you're working a part-time job, you're not super thrilled about it, but you're working it. Maybe you're in school, you don't want to be there, but like you still don't know what else to do. Maybe you're thinking about sales, maybe you're ready in sales. Where you start, in my honest opinion, is whatever you're doing now. This is step 1. Whatever you're doing now, do it at the highest possible level. Don't half-ass it because you don't like it. Don't start, quitting and run away from it because it's too hard. Whatever you're doing right now, start with doing that at the highest possible level. It doesn't mean you're gonna stay where you are forever, but excel at that. If you wash cars and your hands are freezing every day and it's kind of terrible and it's shitty, be the best car washer at the company you're at. Because I'm gonna tell you something, 1 of 2 things are gonna start happening in your life. A, you're gonna get noticed and be given opportunities, which will lead you to be able to test and try different things out and find where you fit in. People will notice the hard work. There's always a place for hardworking people, right? They will notice, they will promote, they will find you because you'll stand out so much. Whether you're a student, whether you're a part-time job, whether you're a salesperson, be the best salesperson on that team, be the best car washer in that garage, be the best student in that class, because those people get noticed. And being noticed comes with opportunity. Because if you're at a stage where you don't know what you want to do, the reality is you're gonna have to try stuff. But we can't have you just quitting and signing up for 20 things. Start with excel and crush the thing you're doing now. And then when an opportunity comes, you wait patiently. When it comes, you take it. Don't be scared of it. If you're washing cars and the guy that you're at a dealership and the guy says, listen, you're one of our hardest working employees. We just lost a salesperson. I think you do well. I know you don't sell, but I think you do well at this. You're driven, you're motivated. Do you want the position? You say yes. and you take it. No matter how scared you are, I know it's commission, just take the thing, excel at that, become the top salesperson at that dealership. Through that, maybe the owner notices you, maybe a customer notices you, maybe it doesn't work out, but now you're a top level salesperson with skills, communication ability, and a track record, then you can go try something else. Maybe through doing that job, you had a business idea. Maybe you met a certain customer that has a business you want to go work. Whatever the case is, you can go down that path, but start by doing the best job you can at the thing you're doing now. That's the first step, but keep that eye open for the opportunity. Keep that eye open for what's next, and be driven by your overall goals. Figure out in your life what you want. At the end of it, is it freedom? Is it time with your family? Is it an exotic car? Is it to own a bunch of real estate? Is it to travel? Let that be the guiding star, but don't just quit everything until you find the thing that takes you there. Do the thing you're doing right now so well until the next opportunity comes, and slowly move in that direction.
You're a passionate guy, man. You know,
I get a little angry
for a super mean and pessimistic guy, I guess you're kind of nice at times.
You know, because ultimately, dude, I do. I want the best
As an anti-vaxxer and as someone who is super against what the norms are.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
just gonna throw words at you.
Anti-vaxxer. I'm misogynistic. Probably white supremacist according to Trudeau. I don't know how, but I am. He said I was.
Racist. Just
must be true.
Yeah, I guess you're kind of a nice guy, man.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
God, it's so funny.
No, I want the best for people. See, this is the truth. Sorry, side note. This is the truth. Usually the best paths, the best advice is masked in this. It's not holding your hand and saying, oh my God, you're so great. Just be you. Just be the best version of you. I get it, that's fun, but that's not the truth. Like sometimes you do have to say, hey, you're not thinking about this right, you're missing a point, and you're gonna fuck up. Yeah. And so I gotta get angry, and I gotta tell you the reality of what you need to do, and it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be shit, but you gotta do it. Yeah. We need, I think, more of that passion too from our leaders, from our parents, from our family, from our friends, that are not just like, yeah, whatever you wanna do. Like, push people, challenge them, get angry at them. Like, I needed that from people. Like that guy I just mentioned that I get that advice from, my coaching calls with him are him going, who the fuck do you think you are? You're nobody. You're tiny. How you tried? You got to go this way. Like he's not afraid to tell me when I'm fucking.
For some reason,
up.
I respond great to that.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. But most people be like, "What did you just say to me?"
It's the offended.
You know, exactly.
I'm easily offended.
Yeah, like it's funny because I'll talk about, oh, I got to do. How am I going to structure my team meetings and the system we have? He's like, what do you have? 10 employees, 20 employees? What the fuck are you doing? He's like, I got 500. What do you think you are? 5,000 person corporation? You got to build relationships. You got to spend your time with your people. You got to focus on. And he'll tell me what to focus on, but he'll be happy to shit on whatever I'm thinking right now. Yeah. But I need that because it brings me back in the right direction. More people need more of that. That's why I'm like the way I am.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
how it is, man.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think a lot of people just got to be okay with that, and just having that that conversation. So, the next topic that I want to talk about is, obviously, you work online.
We're remote now as of this past November, so as of about 3 months ago. We're fully remote.
So did you get rid of your office?
We have the office still. I use it for personal stuff, and we have some other business interests that we leverage it for. It's more of a storage and personal space.
It looks good too, right?
I'll work there sometimes. Cool. Family works there. We kind of share it now. But the Suit Social has no connection to it necessarily. So we're fully remote as of November.
Which I think I love. Like I'm so glad I built my business COVID proof.
Yeah. So
everything's online unless the internet goes down. If the internet goes down, then
we have bigger problems.
That's gonna be a huge problem. But that will never happen.
Yeah.
Cross our fingers.
Then you come to my house. I'm ready for that too.
So you see a lot of people on social media. I've seen this on TikTok, on Instagram. We got these, another Ontarian has left, another Canadian has left the country. Yeah. They've lost another good one. And you are in a situation, ideally, because I love this conversation. Like I just signed a 12-month lease in Burlington, and I thought it was a great decision. And I got my good friend Anas in Colombia. I got multiple people in Colombia. In Mexico, all over South America, in Europe, in the US. I can go literally anywhere I want right now. And who even wants to be in this cold weather? But I made the decision for the next 12 months. I move in February 1st, so in a couple days. Nice. This is where I'm gonna stay. I got my little gym downstairs, my pool, my hot tub, my sauna. It's part of the actual condo. And I got my trainer 15 minutes across. I got my good friend Andrew. I got my family. Yeah. I got my roots. I got the camera crew here. So that was my decision, which was, even though I can go to Miami, which a lot of my buddies are, in Miami in good weather, I didn't do that, and I would love to have this conversation with you, because you're in the exact same boat, dude. You can you can go to Texas.
Yeah.
You can go to people who have the same values as you.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Right? You know, if you talk to everyone in Barrie, you get a poll out of them. You're no one's thinking very similar to that. For at least, I don't know. So why not travel, dude? Why not go to Florida? Where were you considering? And why haven't? And you got your visa already, right? So so you could talk about that as well.
Exactly. So
why not pull the trigger, dude?
So yeah, I'm still working and living in Canada, right? You know, we also have a house here, bought a house, our second place this year, earlier in the year. Have my wife here. We're kind of at that stage where we just got married a few months
Congrats.
ago. Thank you.
Know.
Thank you.
I'm still upset I didn't get invited, but that's fine. Whatever. We can talk off
That's
camera.
a whole other story.
I know.
You
invited my uncle, but it's fine. It's fine.
He invited himself. No, that's a whole other story. He's planning a wedding in a pandemic. Was a disaster. And we definitely lost.
My sister gets married in a couple days, or next weekend.
Yeah, it's tricky. That's a whole other conversation, but we definitely got restricted there. But anyway, I think when it comes to now deciding where you want to live and work is a popular thing now, and a lot of people, even employees, are thinking about it. There's opportunities over this in the States. There's business opportunities. There's companies like us that we can still run our company and live there. So how do you decide, right? I've broken it up into kind of two categories, and I'll talk about then my strategy in a second on Florida and all that. So first, you have to decide what you're optimizing life for. Okay. Are you optimizing for your own personal experience, love, connection, family, personal network, in that part of the experience? Or are you optimizing for, business success, growth, expansion? Because sometimes, depending on your business, that could matter too, where you're gonna live, right? Mm-hmm. Like people like Grant Cardone, for example, might say, he likes to have everyone in the office. He wants to be in a high energy space. He wants to have all these team members and build this huge profile, and they all gotta be there. We all gotta be energy. So maybe you gotta move to a place that has that. Right. So it's there's a lot of things to consider, but you have to first decide what you're optimizing for, is my point. So for me, I decided kind of a while back, my priority is the thing I can't really replace. That's family, friends, and my personal life, right? So friends, family, and my whole personal life, my network, my hobbies, my interests. That can't change, you said? What? I can't replace that. If I mess those up, if I break them, if I disconnect them, they're very hard to recover, right? They're kind of, timeless, like being next to my parents, my family, my brother, my wife's family, having that connection. We have a baby, the whole family is here. If and when we do that, there's a value to that is hard. If I just up and leave, I disconnect from that. I can't just go to Florida and replace my family and connection, right? And so I have to decide how important it is to me. And I've decided it was very important for now. However, what I've done is I'm not gonna just bet on that staying the same forever. And so I've, in the interim, applied for a US visa, which I've gotten now, which will allow me to live and work in the US, allows Leah to live and work in the US, to open bank accounts, run credit cards, open offices, do whatever the hell I want, basically as almost a citizen. Now I applied for that. Why am I not living there? Because it's not reached a point yet where the thing I'm optimizing for is everything I just said. The only time I'm gonna make that leap is if the threat against that anyway is so high that I might as well get out. I won't get out. So for example, if they start pushing things where unvaccinated people can't enter society, you can't go shopping, you can't go out, you can't enter this, you can't visit your family, you can't cross this, whatever crazy thing they can come up with, where all of a sudden I'm not really seeing my family anyway, I can't get out, I can't network, I can't do things, then I have to make the decision of, well, they took that thing that I was optimizing for, from me anyway, so now I might as well move to an area that can give me some of that freedom back. And even if I did that, if I go to Florida, my next move is how do I get my family there? Right? My dad's gonna actually be tagging onto my visa, even though my mom thinks she won't move. My brother's gonna tag onto it. And so when I have a visa, it's a long story, but basically because I'm doing it through the corporation, through my own business, I can list them as consultants and contractors that need to attend to the business with me. Yeah,
two steps ahead.
Yeah, so I can tag people along. And so my goal as soon as I get there will be, okay, how do I get my family here now? Because that was my priority. And so if I move, it's because the freedoms and the things that I love here are so far gone and I can't recover them that they've left me no choice. Until that happens, I'm gonna do everything I can to succeed here and thrive here. I'm just not gonna bet my life on it. I'm gonna have the plan in place that if I have to go, I'm ready. So now I have my paperwork, I just crossed the border and I can stay there. I don't gotta worry, I don't gotta come back. That's ready. And I think it's very important to plan your optimal plan, but have your backup plan. And I think some people have jumped too quickly. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to Florida. And then they're like, whoa, I don't have a credit score. I can't open a bank account properly. I can't get a job. My family's gone. I'm getting depressed. And they come back, or their visitor visa of 6 months expires and they got to come back. that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is really think it through and figure out why you want to do it. So for me, it's very possible. Like if these restrictions were to keep up here and I can't do business properly anyway, I can't meet people in person, I can't see my family, I can't experience things with my family by going out and doing all this, maybe I move to go enjoy life and optimize for that thing again. Especially if we have a child. Right now, the optimum thing is like if I have a baby, because we're in that stage of our life.
You got your parents, you got her parents.
They're there.
I know.
But if we get to a place though, where that baby's gonna be forced to be like jabbed with 32 things, or somehow segregated, or can't go to school, or can't go to something, then I'm gonna reprioritize that and say my priority is the freedom of now my child. And if I gotta move for that, I'll move for that.
Well, it's a good place. It's a good place to be in, right? I think for me, it's as a performer, like I need to have a place where I can be grounded. I think I've seen so many people. Like I'm not going to give any names, but you can tell like it's chaotic. It's chaotic in their life. And sure, they got a view of the ocean, but it's chaotic. Like where are you going to go work out? Where are you going to go eat? Right? You got to start friendships from day one. Yes. And dude, you can't build solid friendships overnight. Exactly. So then who are you trusting? Where it's like, what is a day in the life? What happens after that? And so to me, it makes logical sense of being grounded in Burlington.
Yeah.
Like I know, and to me, it's my regiment. Like as I'm growing my team, like I just brought on an operations manager. Yeah. I have a closer, I have an appointment setter, I have someone who is doing my marketing. To be able to think and lead them and get them and train them and systemize them. If I'm a mess, and my life is chaotic and my sleeping patterns are off and the time zone is different and all this stuff, how do I expect to even maintain what I have right now? Exactly. So that was one of the biggest things. So, and what I also preach, I don't know if this is how you live. I remember back in the day, I was working my ass off and I was like, look at this son of a gun, he's in Disneyland with Leia. Look at this son of a gun, he's traveling somewhere else. And I'm like over here just knocking doors, right? Yeah. But I'm actually a big advocate in pit stops.
Yeah.
Meaning like, so I don't know if, have you traveled recently or
not? Through COVID because of my,
Yeah, my man. Like I've traveled, like I've gone,
anti-vax.
Yeah, my man. Yeah, cool. But like I've gone to Jamaica. Yeah, but are you still able to fly? Like I went to Jamaica, but I guess that's a new thing. Like I went to Jamaica.
You can't the border, by the way. You can't cross the border.
My man, dude, you are just super evil, and you're bad boy.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm also at a place like whether you have it or not, like I've been vaccinated, like I don't care.
Exactly. That's how.
Like just sure, you know what? If you want to get it, you get it, dude. You don't want to get it, you don't. Exactly. So, but anyway, that's a whole other conversation. You are slowing down society, but we'll talk about that later. But for me, it's like I like pit stops. So because I want to move to Florida so bad. Or somewhere where it's warm all day long. Like everyone would love to live in July all year long, right? Yeah. So what I've done instead is every 3-4 months, I've booked out a vacation.
Yeah.
So I work my ass off. So right now, my next pit stop is March 23rd.
Right.
Because dude, repeating this for too long, you'll start going crazy.
I did.
You'll look way too much into politics, way too much into little small things. And that's why I asked you at the beginning, I said, are you happy, bro? Because if you're not fucking happy, nothing else matters.
Sure.
Like happiness should be, and I preach this to all my clients, if you're not feeling good, you've lost the game in life. You can make all the money in the world. You can be in the best shape. You can have the best relationship. You have everything in the world. If you're not happy, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
if you're not feeling good, with a smile on your face, you've lost the game of life.
Yeah. 100%.
Point blank fucking period.
100%.
You can make 10 times the amount of money as me.
Oh yeah. The money
I'm still winning.
means nothing.
I'm still winning. You have the best, so that's why I asked you, are you feeling good? And I think obviously with the way we've kind of segregated society, I think it's caused people to go so deep into their beliefs and then they kind of go a little bit crazy and then it's like you can't even see my baby if you're not vaccinated or you can't, like my sister, if you're not vaccinated, you can't come to my sister's wedding.
Yeah.
And not that I want to go down this path of vaccination. But what I wanted to say about the routines is everyone needs a routine. Everyone needs a regiment. I think freedom comes from having a regiment. Yeah. If you don't have, I always thought of the idea of me living on a beach and having my laptop on the beach. Dude, you can't. First off, you can't even do that because your laptop will get too hot and then you won't even be able to.
You can't see 'cause the sun's in your eyes.
that's not a reality. You know, so I've actually realized that, but then I've integrated what's worked for me is I'm going to Mexico March 23rd, and I'm running to that pit stop. So I'm making sure my operation manager or my operations manager is able to run the business, and for the most part with the whole team. So we're running there, and then I have another thing in June. I'm going to Vegas in July. I want to go to Costa Rica or Dubai like closer to the end of the year. And obviously, like, there's other things I want to do, but to me that's what a good life is. So, but I might go buy a place in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I might go buy, somewhere in Dallas or Austin, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, because to me, that's really what life's about. I love doing things like this, like talking about life and growing, and I hope you make more money and become better. But if you're not happy, bro, like the quickest way to die is be stressed out all the time.
Yeah.
I'm a big fucking advocate. Yeah. And I tell this to my mom all the time, because I feel like I was born, in just anxiety.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the reasons for my stutter, okay? Is like, you want to die early? Be fucking stressed all the time.
Yeah.
I understand there's BS happening in the world, but if you're stressed all the time, you've lost. You want to end your life early? 100%, just be stressed. Stress over the things you can't control in life.
Yeah. Find ways to control them. But you got to realize, like, for example, the reason why I'm not so deep into politics is because that's not my journey right now. Like, if I become a politician, I'm all in, bro. Yeah.
Right now, my focus is being a coach, growing that, building an actual company where it can almost run on its own for the most part. And I do what I do best. Mm-hmm. But like, it's not my time in my life right now. I don't know if that goes against your own beliefs, but like, politics isn't my journey right now. So I understand it. I have to learn about it. But it's just, like maybe when I'm 38 and I'm like, I'm gonna just go run. I got a bunch of money in the bank.
Yeah.
I got some influence from these podcasts, or looking at our podcast from 20 years ago with Darren Cabral. But yeah, like that's kind of where I'm at. And I think having that regimen and that routine, bro, it makes you sane, dude. Because we can go crazy during this whole period.
And that's what I've been on for a little while now too. It's just this is a tricky subject, because like, here's my issue with politics. Politics can sometimes be misinterpreted as an individual, independent subject. Like, politics is politics, let's ignore it.
The problem is politics, what it actually represents is the administration of our life and capacity to exist, right? So when politics starts to fall or falter or something's wrong, sometimes, this is gonna sound really counterintuitive, don't get mad at me. Sometimes stressing and worrying, there's a key to this, but sometimes stressing and worrying is a good thing, and it's a symptom that you need to become aware. Either you need to be part of a solution to a problem before it impacts your life in a way you might now be unaware of, or you need to at least prepare a plan B, which is what we talked about. Yeah. So for example, I don't think you should, if you're in a situation like in Canada right now, you should not spend all your day just worrying about this. Like, I don't sit at home all day just like going down a rabbit hole 24 hours a day. I'm still building my business. I'm still hiring a team. I'm still being productive. I'm still building process. I'm still doing everything that I have to do to grow. That's my focus. It fulfills me. It's happy. I spend time with my wife. We go out. We have lots of family time. We do lots of stuff. I love that. But I take this much of my time and I become aware of what's happening around me. Yeah. And I think about it, because I go, can I fix this? No. What can I do then to make sure that my family's in a position that if it gets bad or worse, I'm ready? Now, sometimes it does anger me. It does anger me because I look down that rabbit hole of like, what could this lead to, right? Like for you, like if you want to go take that vacation, how are you going to feel if, that comes up and it's like, no, actually we're shutting down travel this month because we're going into a new lockdown. Yeah. How long until you're skirting through the restrictions because, you're kind of going through them and you're doing what you got to do and you're focusing on your business, but how long until they actually do affect you? How long until they say, over $1 million a year, we can't let you do that with small business. Yeah. Because, we just got used to saying you can't travel and people accepted that. We just got used to saying you got to inject yourself with something and that was okay. So why can't we just say we're going to limit your upside? So at what point, maybe the restriction, the policies are happening now are ignorable because they're not directly impacting you. How long though until they do? And that's why politics sometimes, things can get really bad really quick because it doesn't matter until it does. Yeah. But because like one of my personal passions is history, like I love history too. I can't help but see those things. Like I can't help but see the pattern. And it does scare me. And I think it would be unhealthy for me to pretend it didn't or pretend that it didn't worry me because then I would take no action. And then when the time came, I wouldn't be prepared. So if nothing bad ever happens and this just all goes away, thank God. I'm so happy that it does. But if it goes south, I can't just let my family fail or suffer or lose because I didn't think about it. So that's kind of where I come. But there are people that go down a damn rabbit hole. That's their whole life. Like they're not going to work. They're not running their business. They're just angry and that's the problem. But I think a little bit of awareness, a little bit of fear to the point of action. Like, you know what I felt the best was when I got that US visa. You know, like, because I felt trapped. I can't get out. What's the option? And now, I have an option. That felt good. I moved in that direction, right? So now I can keep working in Canada happily. I can live here. I can do business here. Great, let's operate. But now I know I have a little escape hatch, right? And there's other escape hatches I built that I can't talk about. But I have backup plans and escape hatches and things.
It's like an underground room that you...
There's so much. No, I'll tell you off the podcast. But there's a whole other area of elements of how we can solve all these restrictions and problems that are being placed on us. I want to make sure that the government doesn't get to make that decision. I get to make that decision.
I love it.
So whatever they decide to policy or make or mandate, I have my own counter mandate. I have my own response. And so that's why I like to get into it, but not because I want to get into it. I just want to be ready. And I want to sometimes help other people get ready.
Of course.
But
you're a leader, bro.
Man. But like
you're a leader, dog.
Don't just be scared. Like perform, build, be hopeful. You know, be purposeful. But be aware. Don't stop thinking. Don't stop preparing, right?
I love it.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Good, man. Usually the way I kind of end off these podcasts is I will ask, so I'm going to throw words at you and you tell me what's the first thought that kind of comes to you.
Okay.
Y'all ready? Money.
Freedom.
Yeah. Freedom.
Choices and freedom.
So when I say freedom, what comes to you?
That's a tough one. When you say freedom, what comes to me? Fulfillment.
Cool.
Freedom gives you the opportunity to do the things that matter most. You have no restriction. You don't do to do. You do because there's meaning.
Of course.
You're not blinded by anything. Yeah.
Cool. Happiness.
Man, I want to say still fulfillment.
Yeah.
I mean, having fulfillment, like there has to be a reason to wake up. There has to be, and that can be, that's not business, by the way. That can be your newborn baby that you wake up to coddle in the morning. Like that can be, hugging your wife when you roll out of bed. Like whatever that thing is that you live for, I think having that is huge. There's got to be something in your life that makes you feel whole. Some people, for us, it's business. Some people, it's family. Some people, it's all of it. But yeah.
Cool, bro. You enjoying this podcast or what?
I am.
I know, dude.
I wanted more controversial words. Give me something like super controversial.
Gender studies.
Waste of $60,000 in 4 years. Unfortunately.
PhD in gender studies.
Unemployed. That's the only thing I can, Why can't I find a job?
This is the first YouTube video you're gonna get censored, okay? I hope you guys know in the back over there, you guys can be talking too, like down the road. Add in your 2 cents. Okay? I hope you guys chime in.
Our great cameraman,
Oh God, we got the best cameraman. Friendship.
Invaluable.
Yeah.
It's the most valuable thing you'll ever find if you can find it.
Dude, that was a big thing with me. Like I've kind of reconnected with my family on a deeper level, and I've realized like no matter how far I run from it, I'll always come back.
Have to.
Because it's I don't know if it's a European thing, but I was born very close to my family. Like I'm guessing my family would probably be very similar to your family at some level.
Very close.
Like very similar, and the European. Are they both Portuguese?
Both Portuguese.
Yeah, so Italians and Portuguese are very similar.
My wife, her dad's Italian and her mom's Filipino, but
everything Filipino
is family
too.
oriented.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we have dinner at her family or my family like 3 or 4 times a week. Like
I know
always at
people
our
find that to be
there.
weird.
No, it's what we do. It's how we keep that connection going, right?
Yeah, I know.
It's critical no matter what. That's always my priority, man. Even when, like I'm telling you, even through business, like when I've had the worst of worst times and things are crumbling, like Leah's grandfather got sick and unfortunately passed away like 3-4 years ago. Like when he got sick and got admitted to a hospital kind of unexpectedly, everything with my work stopped. I didn't care what was happening. I was the first person at the hospital because, listen, he's not my grandfather, but he was a really important person in her life. So me being there, none of the other guys in the family, by the way, were there till nighttime because they were working. They had to work. I had that freedom and I chose to use it in that moment for that.
Go air quotes, working.
They're probably just like hanging out, pretending to work. But they were all working. Yeah. So of course they can't leave their jobs. That moment, like those things are like, I'm so glad I worked for myself for that. Like I could just get up and be there because that was the family.
The dream
right?
is what you're living right now.
Yeah.
Working online, you got your own business, you can make as much money as you want. But do you want to get here, dude? Go into a sales job.
Yeah.
Period.
Come sell for me. We're gonna hire some.
Dude, reach out to Darren Cabral.
I need 2 salespeople.
We'll add his Instagram in the description.
Yeah.
And his email. Overworked.
You're working on the wrong thing. Misalignment.
Ooh, I like that.
You can't overwork on the right thing. It's impossible.
Cool. Team culture.
Critical to success. I mean, I've made that mistake a couple times. I've lost big chunks of my team because there was no alignment or I wasn't leading the way I needed to and ensuring there was that culture. But yeah, it's critical to success, 100%.
The convoy that's happening right now.
You know what? Like, I can't even put a word to that. The convoy that's happening right now is the first time Canadians have stood up to fucking anything. And I'm so proud. I think I almost cried going under the underpass. I think a tear came out of my eye. Like, I'm like, fuck yes, you guys can be anywhere and finally you're standing here in support of a fucking movement. Like there was people lined up on the overpasses, there was trucks going by, and I'm like, thank God. It's not about anti-vax, it's about what the government gets to decide.
Well, that's a fringe part of the society.
Yeah, the fringe part. The 80-kilometer long line of tractor trailers, they're gonna see how fringe it is when they can't move Ottawa for 2 weeks. But it's crazy because it's nice to see that because I know they're trying to demonize them, and if you only watch mainstream media, you're like, why is he supporting them? It's not dude, my family got vaxxed. You're vaxxed. I have no issue. Yeah. The moment the government, whose job is to administrate our country, comes in and says, we'll deny you rights to live in society until you do what we say, because we said it.
Like Australia, like where they throw them in the camps. I mean, obviously they're not there.
We're gonna practically do that here. I mean, that's the problem. Like that's what I have an issue with, right? And there's probably a good chance they didn't do that, I'd be vaccinated by now. Because then it becomes fucking principle. It's like, now I don't trust you. Since when the fuck do you care about my health? Since when do you care that much about what my health is? So I don't believe you now, so now I'm just not gonna touch shit. But anyway, that's the problem these truckers have is like, they're gonna lose the right to work, right? 50% of US truckers, by the way, that bring our food in, 50% are unvaccinated. So fuck whatever Trudeau says about Fringe Group. 50% of the long haul truckers bringing in your food, your groceries, your products are unvaccinated.
Fact check, please. Please fact
check that. They have now, and don't
Jamie,
don't use
Jamie, please fact check.
Sources, by the way, because Canadian news sources are taking polls.
Well, go on the Canadian government's website.
Oh, they lie because they'll do polls. They'll do polls of these segments of like a certain particular Canadian trucking division, but they're not talking about the U.S. side, which they implemented on, right? So those truckers now, why do you think they're pissed?
Yeah.
Half of them, if their job was transport to Canada and they no longer can, they're out of work.
Yeah, I know.
How do they feed their family?
It's ridiculous. I mean,
right?
and talking about leaders, Trudeau.
Is this a word I got to respond to?
Yeah. What? 40%.
How fucking close was that?
Yeah.
It's almost half. Yeah. 40% of truckers.
Thanks, Jamie.
That's from Reuters.
Thanks, Jamie.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We have to do this on every podcast now. Let's try that again.
We'll have links on website for fact checks.
Factcheck.com. That's probably owned by Trudeau too. Sorry, what was the last word?
Trudeau. What's the last word?
Honestly? Can I be dramatic?
Because you haven't been this whole time.
The first thing that comes to my mind is evil.
Oh my goodness.
I know that sounds weird,
Yeah.
but I'm going to tell you why. He has a vision, which is probably super positive in his mind.
Yeah.
This is what he wants for the country. He's convinced what he's going to do will make this better.
I mean, that makes an evil leader at some level, right?
Right.
I know.
He's convinced that what he's doing is going to make Canada better. So applaud him, right?
I get it, yeah.
But he's willing.
A cult leader thinks the exact same way.
100%. So this is where that's the problem, though.
Drink the Kool-Aid. I believe we're gonna go to heaven and everything's gonna be
right.
great. I know.
So, but the problem is it's okay to have a vision. The problem is you start to determine, I will make this happen no matter the cost of the lives of the people who disagree with me.
Damn, son.
That's why he's evil. Because he'll do this at any cost. He doesn't care that you lost your job. He doesn't care that Auntie Sue got fired from being a nurse after 40 years of helping keep people alive.
Or this single mother can't work and can't take care of her kids.
His kid is hungry. He doesn't care. That's what's evil about that. I want this, so you will all do it at any cost. And that's a slippery road. Very slippery road, man. But yeah, evil.
Yeah, I mean, that's what kind of happened with Nazi Germany, obviously, at a very extreme level. Like, even to get to that level where they're throwing Jews in ovens. Like, how do you even get to that level?
Well, what was it all
to
based
get
on?
there,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Dude, what was all
at
based
some level, it's a similar line of thinking. I'm not saying we're going to get there.
It's
but
identical line of thinking, and I'll tell you why. You want to get censored? Here we go. The reason why Hitler is a great parallel. What was Hitler's vision? What was his belief? Do you remember?
The Aryan race.
What did he want for Germany?
Just blue-eyed and blonde hairs walking around.
That was all symptoms. He wanted greatness for Germany because Germany was just going through 20 years of depression. They were defeated in World War I. They were disgraced. He wanted a better Germany. So the moment he made that decision, just like Trudeau wants a better Canada, the problem is now that better Canada is at any cost. So to Hitler, it was at any cost. If that meant not killing off people he thought weren't contributing to the greatness, that was fine, right? This is just in alignment with what's happening right now. Trudeau has a positive vision. The fact that he's willing to do it at any cost is where these decisions are going to start to get dangerous, right? That's what we got to be careful of.
Expensive. I love it, bro. I love it. I know. Expensive. The word expensive.
Perspective. Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's no such thing. It's just like in the universe itself, like what's big, what's small, everything's perspective. It's in relation to you, right? Mountain's huge unless you're sitting on the sun, and then it's tiny. Like expensive is the same thing. It's expensive if you can't afford it. Like a Mercedes is expensive if you make 30 grand a year. If you make 100 million, it's really cheap. It's too cheap. Can't even buy it. So it's really perspective.
Damn. Loyalty.
Rare. Very rare. Very hard to find. That should be the equivalent of like emotional gold, if there was one. That's the thing that you have to mine and is worth infinite amounts of money. Most people are not loyal because it's hard for them to look past their own wants and needs. And it's hard to be loyal if your main concern is you.
So if I wanted to get into the small group circle of Darren, how do I enter that?
Here's where it's contradictory. Some people think, oh, you got to be super conservative and believe you don't. I have great friends that are actually super liberal. I have one friend that just read like the what's that whole Communist Manifesto? Like he's super left wing. But he's a friend. Why? To be in kind of my circle, which is definitely small, you need to be a person that is willing to think for yourself and have conversations that contradict your beliefs. And be happy to have those conversations, argue about it for 2 hours, laugh, shake hands, and still go home, right? You have to be motivated. You have to want something in your life that is noble and greater than you, whatever that is. It can be religious, education, business, money. You have to be going, most important of anything, you have to be going somewhere. I cannot have friends anymore that it's every time I talk to them, it's the same thing. It's complaining about the same boss, the same coworker, the same, oh, they're underpaid. This, like, stop. You're not moving every time I talk to you. You need to be moving. I don't care. It's not for profit. You can be a missionary for all I care. Just tell me about your mission's different every time. Your adventures. Tell me what you did in Africa. I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Do whatever you want, but you've got to be moving in a direction to be in that circle with me. And that's why I struggle with family, because family's blood. But a lot of family doesn't align with that. But it is what it is. But friends I can choose. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, the whole family thing, right? It's I don't want to say from a distance, but because it's a different version of me comes out. It's like an unconditional love that at the end of the day, you know, when you have all these business friends, there is that condition at the end of the day. Because if you stop performing, and just like me, if I have buddies like my good friend Andrew, if he goes downhill, you know, I'm gonna try to pull him up, but there's only so much I can do. Like I have buddies, very close friends, who have kind of, I don't want to say I've hit rock bottom, but I've kind of gone really low, and it's like there's only so many conversations I can have with them. So
100%. It has to be as you know what. Listen, as long as they're trying is my point. When I say going somewhere, they're trying. As long as they have a will and they're putting in the work, right? Because I've needed that. Like I have friends that have stood up for me when I was at a low point. You know, that were there. Very few. Like I'm talking, I have maybe one or two friends that I would consider that level. That even no matter what I'm doing, what I'm struggling with, they will hear it out. They don't judge it. They help. They volunteer their time. No matter what's going on in their life, they'll be there for that. That is so rare. If you can find one of those even, you're in a great place. But as long as they're going somewhere and they're trying and they're working. Right?
And most people can bounce back if they've, you know, so.
Yeah.
Public speaking.
Rewarding would be the first word that comes to my mind. I did a lot of it early on in my career, and I think it helped a lot with confidence. you get very confident because it's a very uncomfortable thing. It's a very unnatural thing. And when you do it a few times and you realize you can, and you realize people are receptive, and you realize it can also build authority for you, right? The guy standing in front of the room has all the authority, has all the attention. It can be very powerful for business, for whatever your cause. And if you're gonna be good or successful at anything, a nonprofit, a religious organization, a business, you gotta be comfortable standing in front of people and selling your ideas. It's one thing to sell one-to-one, it's another thing to sell to a group, at a room of people.
Well, that's literally what I teach.
Yeah,
I go,
so
you
need that.
You learn this, it's a domino effect. Everything else becomes easy.
Yeah, 100%, because any idea sold at scale is gonna be in front of groups of people. So you're gonna have to figure that out.
Everything too.
Yeah.
Finding your wife, building a team, everything.
Just get 30 girls in a room and just,
Hey guys, what's going on?
okay, who's gonna make the cut here?
I like long walks on the beach. My favorite color is blue. Let's do it.
Public speaking Tinder, that's our next business. We train you how to speak while finding your next wife.
They're like taking notes as you're talking.
Yeah, someone's like genius. Yeah, what about, you ever see that Jason Capital guy?
Yeah.
That's basically what he's doing. Public speaking and just getting a bunch of also people in a room and it's crazy. It's probably how he gets all his girlfriends. But anyway, off topic.
Students.
Just dating all the students.
Love for Daniel. I mean, love.
Love for Daniel. Very great. Love. Dangerous.
Oh my goodness. Gets married? Dangerous.
Dangerous because it can be very hard to know what it actually means. Yeah. And it can be very easy to trick yourself into thinking you having it or thinking you have it and ruining your life. Now, I've not done this, but I know people who have done this. Love is the most powerful emotion and connection you'll ever have. Yeah. And if you share it with the wrong person, it can lead to a very difficult and dark path. Yeah. I think love should be reserved for the most close, proven people. Like, love is gonna be for my immediate family. Like you said, it's unconditional love. They're with me, they've raised me. It really doesn't matter at this point what they do. It's gonna be there because they're that blood, right? And it's gonna be for my wife. It's gonna probably stop pretty close to there if you actually talk about real love. And then when I have kids. Love is a word we throw around too much. And it can really fuck you up. Oh yeah, I love my friends. Oh, I love my buddies. I love my crew. I love my this. I love my business. Do you? You think you do. And you start doing all kinds of things in the name of love, right? All kinds of sacrifices, and then you realize it wasn't love. It was the wrong person, the wrong reason, the wrong business, the wrong something, right? Love is not what most people think it is. And I think if you find it, it's the most powerful thing in the world, but it can be the most dangerous if you go about it the wrong way or use it the wrong way.
Yeah, number one decision to make in life is your partner, who you marry.
Huge.
All right. And then I think the last word would be patience.
Underrated. Because I think patience is something, especially in the business community and everything, we don't have. Now, this whole topic can be pretexted with patience. People don't want to work for free because they have no patience. They have money today, so they never improve. They don't want to work really hard at the job they hate. They just want to leave because they have no patience. Yeah. We don't work at our relationships long enough because we have no patience. We quit our diet too quickly because we don't have patience. We don't see the result right away. Patience is everything. And especially in today's world, Instagram, especially in the success culture, you have to be a millionaire in 2 years. Yeah. Dude, it might fucking take you 20. Like, I started the entrepreneurial journey like 11, 12 years ago with that first side hustle. And I still feel like I haven't figured 90% of it out. I'm willing to work my whole life to figure it out. I'm willing to grind it out because I'm not trying to win quick. I'm not trying to get rich quick. I'm not trying to have that big win right now. I'm trying to get successful and get rich guaranteed. And even if that takes 40 years or 60 years or my whole life, I'll keep pursuing that. It's not the outcome. It's getting there the right way. And I think now we've lost that. It's like, if I don't succeed this year, I failed. I got to go back and do something. You'll have Andy Frisella talk about how he made no money for like 15 years. Imagine if he quit at any point. Like, imagine doing something for 15 years and losing at it. But exactly. And then sticking through it and seeing the success you get on the other side. So people don't have that. It's like, especially in business, I see people trying 23 ideas a year. Oh, this didn't work in the first 2 weeks. No one showed up to this. I'm out. You'll never succeed in anything. Not love, not life, not business.
Craziness. All right, man. I think we're about to wrap up.
Love it.
It's been what? About 2 hours?
2 hours and 10 minutes.
Damn, son. This is the type of Joe Rogan podcast that I don't know. I don't really know what our theme is with this. I think we're like slowly figuring this out. But it was definitely a great episode.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Of course, man. No, this is, and you know, I want to just have a real conversation. None of this like business talk of like, hey man, give me your 3 success principles. I want this to be a real genuine conversation. If you know, and you know, these are opinions. This is kind of where Darren's at. It's kind of where I'm at, and you know, this is the whole idea: is you want to fix something, have conversations. That is the solution to any problem. Communicate, and then just have more communication, and then hopefully one day everything gets fixed. And then new problems won't come up. So,
and if you don't know how to communicate,
yeah, buddy,
that guy right there.
Cool, bro. Appreciate you, and I'm sure we will have you again on the show.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Had a great time, man.
Yes,
Really
sir.
loved it.
Thank you.